In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. George Orwell. Yeah. This is Blood Politics. The only podcast where we don't talk about politics. We be about politics. And our mission statement is to empower, educate, and encourage everyone to speak out against fascism. Speak out against injustice and fight for freedom and equality for everyone. This is blood politics, and we ain't stopping till they put us in the grave. We ain't gonna be quiet, and we ain't gonna be scared, and we ain't gonna go along with the crowd. This is blood politics.
You guys ready? Everybody ready? Everybody buckled in? All right, let's just get right into it. Welcome back to the show, guys. I appreciate you for joining me. It is 23rd of June, and it is a Tuesday, and I appreciate you, like I said, for being here. My name's Brian. This is Blunt Politics. You guys know exactly what to do right off the bat, which is to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Thank you, guys, to the mods, to the chat, to everybody. I love you. I appreciate you. What do you say we get into a little bit of the nonsense, a little bit of the craziness? Because we got a lot to get through. Like I said, it is Tuesday, June 23rd, and boy, oh boy, the United States continues to embarrass us as far as the government is concerned on the world stage. J.D. Vance coming out and making it seem like he's making, progress in these talks, immediately disputed by the Iranians. We got arrests at the reflecting pool. The whole thing's going downhill. But like I said, what do you say we go over a little bit? Before I do that, what do you say we bring in the chat? Like I said, you guys deserve some screen time as always. You guys make this show happen, make this show run. There you guys are. What's happening? What's going on, Yakov? What's happening, Roxanne? What's up, Leon? I see you over there on Twitch. What's up, Jackie, William, Albert? How are you? Appreciate you for being here. What's up, Tiff? What's up, Damon? What's going on, Twiggy? Cobalt Chris, what's happening? What's going on, Robin? What's up, Philly? Hi, Pam. Good to see everybody. Jupiter Judy, how are you over there on Twitch? Good to see you, my dear. What's up, Lee? Appreciate you, Dyslexic Fingers. What's up, Alvin? Thank you, guys. Make sure you hit that like button on the way in. Ton to talk about. Hi, Kathy. How are you? What's up, Slacks? Right off the bat. You hummer you. You fucking hummer you. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Not only for the 2 years. Let's go. The 2-year mark for Bobby Slacks. W's in the chat for Bobby Slacks. They're hitting the 2-year mark. Being a member here at Blunt Politics. Very much appreciated for your loyalty, for your friendship, for your generosity here, making this show run. An independent channel, I remind you, there's several different ways in which you can contribute because we have no outside sources, outside backers, CEOs, corporations, anything that we're selling you as far as outside products. We don't interrupt the podcast with a ton of ads or anything like that, commercials, whatever you want to call them. Nothing like that. We rely upon, fantastic people like Bobby Slacks and others in the chat to keep us running. And he says love to you and all the Bryantologists. Right back at you, Slacks. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, WW. What's up, buddy? What's up, El Rondo? Good to see you guys. What's up, Shano? Happy to see you, brother. Happy to see you. What's up, Corrine? Alyosha, what's up, my friend? Good to see you. What's up, 9-inch Toenails? That name kills me every time. What's up, Bri T? What's going on, dude? All right, what do you say we dive into a couple of the topics? I already, told you a few of them, but what do you say we go over a list of some of the things we'll be talking about today? Obviously, Trump expanding his reflecting pool conspiracies, as we talked about, more arrests happening in and around the reflecting pool. Donald Trump now thinking like a team of people with knives, and I think Edward Scissorhands at some point may have snuck into the reflecting pool at night. Donald Trump does say he has photographic evidence. He's got video evidence. We're going to have to wait for the court case. Unfortunately, but he did say that he had evidence. We'll be taking a look at that. Obviously, the Klan spokesperson Caroline Leavitt returns to spread more of Trump's lies pertaining to the reflecting pool. I think she was on with Sean Hannity, so a little bit of her nonsense to call out as well tonight. This is a good one. I think this is the first time this has happened on Blunt Politics. We have the three stooges of Newsmax, so Kyle Higbee, Rob Finnerty, and Greg Kelly. I think a couple of them are trying to blame what's going on with the reflecting pool on Democrats, and I think a couple of them are relating to this horrendous, peace deal, horrendous negotiation, and the lies that have already been told about these negotiations by, I think, Greg Kelly's trying to make that happen as well. So we got Iran disputing Vance's biggest claim from the talks, which is the IAEA, immediately disputed by the Iranians. We got Ukraine continues to strangle off Crimea. There are more bridges that were hit. We also have to talk about the Russian offensive going into Konstantinivka. Seems like it's getting closer to looking like it's going to get surrounded at some point. So that's something we have to talk about. There's more advancement happening on the Ukrainian side near Huliopol, has been reported. And then there was also a counteroffensive reported near Lyman by the Ukrainians. So a few different videos to get into as far as that is concerned. But we're going to start off today, 70%. We just hit. We've been starting off right where we're starting off every other show. 70% of our NAFO goal we just hit. So I want to, again, continue to congratulate, thank, appreciate all of these things to you guys that make this possible. Again, an honor and a privilege, I say every single time, to be involved with something like this, and not only involved with something like this to, to get done, to get, to reach the goals, and to be able to, just, I don't know, in any way contribute to the fight against the Russians is pretty cool and pretty substantial. So again, the Summer of Drones campaign for Help 99, the NAFO 69 Sniffer Brigade, is now at €14,412. And again, by my calculations, somewhere in the neighborhood of 16,400, something like that. You guys can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I think it's over $16,000 now already raised in just about 2 weeks of this campaign going live. So let's see if we can make that push for the last 30% to try to get to our €20,500 goal. And like I said, thank you so much to everybody that's been contributing. Thank you to everybody that's been sharing this out, telling friends, telling family, showing coworkers, however you're doing your thing. Thank you for doing your thing. And let's just see if there's a couple newbies on the list that we can thank here. So Brenda, thank you so much. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you, Robert, Jeremy, Kimberly, Roxanne, Richard, Vasil, Elena. Like I said, we could go down the list of all 113 different separate donations. And thank everybody, but that would take up the entirety of the show. So just want to make sure that we're continuing to promote this, letting everybody know that, this is, we've done a great job so far, but we're not there yet. Okay. We can see the finish line, but we're not at the finish line yet. So continue to share this out, put it on Instagram, put it on Blue Sky, put it on Threads. Again, just doing that much is going to help this campaign. If you can't come up with a $5 or a $10, share it out to everybody that you could possibly share it out to. You never know who sees it. Possibly somebody with a couple extra bucks in their pocket runs across this and is able to, get us across the finish line even quicker, or at least get us closer to the finish line even quicker. But, happy to stand with the Ukrainian military, the people of Ukraine, and help in any way, shape, or form that we can. And this is, again, just one of the ways in which that, we're trying to help give back with our community here and the platform that, that we're lucky enough to have and fortunate enough to have here. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Slacks. Thank you, Roxy Tracy 77 for becoming a new member. Thank you, Frank, for the one gifted membership. Kicking it off in the right way today, guys. I appreciate you. I really do. It's been a tough month, but only because, again, I'm asking a lot of you guys. We have a lot of different things going on. People are, again, stretched really, really thin, whether it because of the economy here, placed upon us because of this ridiculous administration that we're now dealing with, or, again, just other reasons. People have, obvious things going on in their personal life that, either help or don't help their financial situation as well. So thank you to everybody taking the time out and sharing this out, making this possible. Again, like I continue to say, an honor and a privilege to be a part of this. So appreciate the community for making that possible. All right, can I start off with something that's kind of a little aside, right? A little aside from what we're going to be talking about, not the reflecting pool, not so much the embarrassment of what's going on with the Iran negotiations and the ridiculous rhetoric from Donald Trump, the lies from JD Vance, and the immediate repudiation from the Iranian side. But this is a little bit of, the MAGA people here, people kissing ass for MAGA, fucking around and finding out that their loyalty gets them absolutely nothing. Like, you get absolutely nothing in return from your bootlicking. You might enrich yourselves to a certain degree. You might have billionaire donors that are willing to, but it's going to come at a cost, right? At some point, it's going to come at a cost. If you don't toe that party line the way that they want you to, if you say something out of line, you're going to be thrown to the wolves. And here, I only show this because in recent shows, we've played a couple clips from Batya Unger Sargon here, who I think at one point declared herself like a MAGA lefty or something along those lines. A real winner let me tell you, a real winner of a person, somebody that thinks that Donald Trump doesn't know about the plight of the American people and how much like economic pain has been placed upon them because of this disastrous Iran war. Like if the Tsar only knew, you might recall the segment that we did. But this is Rapid Response 47, which is, I think, a White House affiliated. What do they actually say exactly what this is? Yeah, official White House rapid response account supported President of the United States, America First agenda and holding the fake news accountable, MAGA. So you can see exactly what type of account this is. People that she wants to see in power, people that she's carried water for, people that she's licked the boots of, right? And she's getting thrown under the bus heavily here. And I just wanted to read this out because it was a little bit of a chef's kiss. I know a little bit of an aside, but a chef's kiss nonetheless. It says here, as like I said, posted by Rapid Response 47, the old White House account, the only humiliation here is Batya desperately begging for an additional brain cell because her failing TV show is even more irrelevant than the likes of Caitlin Collins and Fake Tapper. Only a moron of her caliber could still doubt President Trump's leadership. And this is, again, retweeted upon a Batya Ungar Sargon tweet saying that VP J.D. Vance just brought the U.S. to its knees with a humiliating deal weeks before our 250th birthday, and he has the audacity to blame Israel. I believe we read this on the show when she put this out on June 18th. She says, for the terrible situation that we're in, and continues to blame J.D. Vance. We're watching the Tucker calcinification of the vice president in real time. Again, one of these people unwilling to call out Donald Trump. This is how she's carrying water for Trump, carrying water for MAGA, trying to, single out J.D. Vance, much like Ben Shapiro and the rest of these fucking soulless hacks we're trying to do. Don't blame the president. Don't call out the president. Lay it right at the feet, all of it at the feet of J.D. Vance, which again, no problem, no issue. And it's absolutely right for people to place, some of the blame at the feet of J.D. Vance. He's the vice president in this administration, clearly didn't speak out against it, clearly didn't do anything to stop it, clearly didn't step down with this like really egregious act that was reported that he said in the background. None of those things actually took place. So he's definitely got some of the blame. But to take and remove Donald Trump out of the, the circle of blame totally and put it all at the feet of J.D. Vance is just mind-numbingly stupid to be able to do. But that's what this White House response was on. And this is what I mean. You toe the party line. You're a MAGA simp. You're a MAGA cultist. You say and you try to obfuscate and justify everything the guy says or does. And next thing you know, because you're not doing it the way that he likes it or the way that Stephen Chung likes it or Stephen Miller likes it, you're on the outs. Next thing you know, you're being rightfully and, viciously tossed to the wolves, just like Batya Ungar Sargon here. So these people find themselves with no home. The left doesn't want to welcome them because of their obvious ridiculous antics and how much they've, tried to not only enrich themselves off of the position that we're in, but how much they're responsible for the position that we're in. And the right doesn't like them either because they see themselves as, they see people like Batya as a leftist, just trying to say the right things to get on the correct side of Donald Trump. Meanwhile, she can't do anything correctly, and she doesn't do it, to a level that would make herself worthy of being in the MAGA cult. So she's kind of shunned from both sides at this point. But I found that very fitting. And again, only because we've seen a couple of her clips recently did I feel like that was kind of relevant. But what do you say we dive on to the conspiracy theory surrounding the reflecting pool here? Because people are being arrested at a rapid rate, a more rapid rate than anybody in affiliation or in relationship with the Epstein files is being arrested, if that should tell you anything. Right. So they now got, the national park people and cops all over the place and cameras and being towed on trailers going around to watch the place 24/7. But I just want to throw this on the screen. We don't have to go through too much of this. I'm sure you've seen already a few clips and heard the ridiculousness. But Donald Trump now claiming that he has proof of some progressive lefty Edward Scissorhands that apparently jumped into the reflecting pool at night. We'll read one of his Truth Social posts. We'll watch his statements here, and then we'll go back and read his Truth Social post, which makes it seem like he doesn't have any evidence to suggest that he has like a confirmation of what he's saying here whatsoever. He says, well, they must have done it at night. Well, then you don't have evidence. Then you don't have, photographs, and you don't have video evidence to prove this, and you're just out there spewing your bullshit. I think this is about 6 minutes and 32 seconds of utter bullshit here by Donald Trump related to the reflecting pool pool, the algae, why the bottom is peeling up. Again, people just doing reports. People are getting arrested and citations. What was that? We talked about, I think, last night, and thank you to all the Patreons for joining us last night for our VIP Zoom. You can head over to patreon.com, sign up at any one of the 3 levels over there, and that gets you access to the VIP Zooms, or that gets you access to the Zooms that we have every single Monday, depending on what levels they are for. So make sure you head over there. Also, you can check out the Venmo up in the corner there. Again, $1 or $2 goes a long, long way in helping this channel grow and go. But what do you say we dive into just a couple minutes of this utter nonsense of Donald Trump saying that, he thinks people went in there and actually took a knife and ripped from one end of the reflecting pool to the other end of the reflecting pool. And again, they continued to dump algae, like all of these different conspiracy theories, none of which he has any evidence to prove. And let's just see if we can call out a little bit of this nonsense, because this was, again, wild.
Are the contractors who did the initial work with the reflecting pool, are they to blame for the current condition, or is it the vandals that you mentioned?
Vandals. We have 100.
Sorry, I know this is an aside, but does that kid want to step out for a second and clear his throat? I don't know. Just take a second and give like a good because I don't think I've heard somebody's voice crack more times in such a short sentence or short question being asked in my life.
We have I think 290, 300-foot slit.
Yeah.
Right through it. Probably a box cutter or a knife.
Like I said, box cutter, which is great too. And I should have had this clip pulled up, and we probably can get through it because, like I said, it might be posted by the Clash Report or others here. But there was a point in time where he said that the bottom of this, or the process in general, was going to be like immune to any sabotage. You couldn't even cut it with a knife, couldn't go in there with a chainsaw if you wanted to and hack this up. It's going to be done so well. Next thing you know, it's a box cutter. Apparently, you can roll in there with a box cutter and just tear this whole $14-15 million project apart. And he again says he has evidence, says he's got evidence of this, from a big slit from a box cutter from one end of the reflecting pool to the other end of the reflecting pool, and he says he's got evidence of this. Can't produce it. You're gonna have to find it in court. Can't produce it right this second. Ask the parks and recreations agencies. You can ask them. They're not going to give it to you because we're going to wait for court, but we do have it.
Well, we had people lifting up the basic, some of the, it's not a lot of damage, but we'll probably have to let the water out and refix it. They went in there with a knife. Wrong. I was just told by the people over at Parks, they have 5 people are arrested and 5 people are under investigation right now. And it's a sad thing. In addition,
for putting their hand in the goddamn water to be like, look at this absolute fucking disaster, right? Like I said, the people on the Patreon, we were talking about, I think it was like a Swedish reporter that was coming over, and she was just trying to do a segment on the algae and the floating fucking bottom of the pool that is now on the top of the fucking pool, right? People going in there and wanting to see for themselves. I've seen, you've probably seen ample video of people just kind of like sticking their hand in to see what's going on. Next thing you know, they're being fucking chased after by park rangers. They're being, they're being given citations and tickets and shit. They didn't know, you know what I mean? They had no fucking idea that it was like illegal to put your hand in there. They just wanted to come down and see for themselves the atrocity that is now the reflecting pool there. So Donald Trump now saying that this was like slit from end to end by these crazy liberals and he has evidence. It's just fucking ridiculous. You know what I mean? Obviously, you guys know that.
to that, we put brand new, beautiful grass all around. They put these massive letters on the grass. You probably
letters. Are you sure they were letters? Because I'm pretty sure it said 8647, which last time I checked, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Correct me if I'm wrong. Were numbers, not letters. Big difference. I'm going to say there is the distinction between those two, between letters in the alphabet and numbers. You know what I mean? Again, chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 8647 would correctly fall under the numbers category, not letters here.
Probably know about that, right? And they said 8647.
Yeah, numbers. Those are numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, so on as they go. Those are numbers.
Probably got that from the dirty cop. Told me, he's a dirty cop, don't you? Dirty cop. He's a crooked guy.
Yeah.
They destroyed the grass. So.
Maybe he jumped into the pool with a box cutter. Tell me you have video footage of that. Please tell me you got the evidence of James Comey jumping into the reflecting pool with a box cutter and slicing it from end to end. Oh, Jesus.
That's a big thing, but we're going to get it back very soon.
National Guard and police have been all over the mall. How would these vandals have gotten so close to do something like that?
Great question. Great question. With all the cameras, with all the services, park services around, with all the agents around, like it's difficult for anybody to see like how you can just wander in, wade into the reflecting pool and slit it from end to end with nobody, no camera, no person, everybody jogging, everybody riding their bikes. Even at night, people just still frequent in the area. Like nobody saw anything. But apparently this was able to take place. Donald Trump has footage, but he can't show you.
Do you have any proof of we didn't have a lot of them then. Who would think that somebody would go into a pool and take a knife and start cutting it?
Nope, nobody really. Probably nobody. Probably nobody.
Yeah,
Use the knife? You have photos or video?
Well, let's put it this way. When you have a 350, I think it's 350, not 250, a 350-foot slit from one end to the other, you think that's proof? You think that's
No! No! And where is the fucking 350-foot continuous slit? Because I'm pretty sure people have gone down there to try to take a look at what you're talking about, and they're just finding no evidence of that. They're finding the algae. They're definitely finding the algae. They're definitely finding the floating chunks of the bottom and where the chunks came off the bottom, but definitely not any evidence to suggest there was a single 350-foot slit done by, again, a Freddy Krueger progressive.
I've been down there today looking for that slit that you mentioned, and there's no evidence.
All you'd have to do is see the Parks Department.
Yeah.
They'll show it to you. See the secretary. But I saw it. They cut it very violently. The same thing with the.
They cut it very violently. They violently went into this. They violently waded through this fucking ankle deep water and violently with a box cutter sliced a 350-foot fucking slit into this thing. Unreal. Which is, again, causing all of the paint on all surfaces, like on all areas of the bottom, regardless if it's within this so-called and alleged 350-foot slit or not, to then peel off. You know what I mean? Just all it takes is that one slit right down the middle, and the whole thing will just start to come up, apparently, if you listen to Trump. But he now goes on to say that they're going to have to drain the thing. They're pretty much going to have to do the whole thing over again, is what he's saying. He's trying to minimize it and say it's not going to be a big deal. Yeah, we just might have to drain a little bit of the water. No, you're going to have to drain all of the fucking water. It's going to be completely and totally redone. It's a disaster. Come on.
Floor, they cut it. And then they lifted it, they pulled it, and that's what it is. And, we've done over 50 monuments. Number one, we start with, this is now a safe city. It's as safe a city as you're going to get in the country. And when I came here, it was a very dangerous city. And number two, what we did is the beautification with the parks and the grass and everything, removal of all the tents. And this is like a different place. One of the things we did is over 50 fountains and statues.
Yeah. So don't worry about the unmitigated disaster that we're actually talking about right now, that I'm actually claiming we have evidence to suggest there was like this huge act of sabotage. And it wasn't just sheer and utter incompetence and me hiring somebody that was, a donor to my campaign and somebody that worked on the pools at my resorts and shit like that, had really no experience on national monuments, historical monuments, or anything like reflecting pools. But we'll hire him just because, it definitely is it's a meritocracy, apparently, if you listen to Republicans. It has nothing to do with who you know. It's definitely the most merited person. That's why Don Jr. continues to be awarded $620 million Pentagon contracts. Eric got a $25 million Pentagon contract, right? Because they were the best of the best there. They were the top-notch people at that position for the drones and shit, right? Come on.
Of which were in horrible shape. All of them were bad, but some were just absolutely horrible. Graffiti.
All right, like I said, we don't have to watch this entire thing. He goes on to just lie a little bit more about the so-called evidence that he can't produce. Apparently, we're going to have to wait for that so-called court case. As, again, people like, former Olympians are getting arrested. People are getting cited because they're doing news reports and just kind of showing the evidence. Like you can see here, you'll probably look above my head like this. You know what I mean? People doing something like this. I'm sure that's just a generated kind of thumbnail, but that's what people are doing. They're going down there, sticking underwater cameras in. If the thing's floating at the top, they're kind of holding it up a little bit. Like they're not the cause of that. They're just looking at the disaster. Meanwhile, now they got more cops surrounding this pool than, I don't know, any other place that they get surrounding this area as well. And people are getting cited after, again, just kind of looking at what's going on there. So that was Donald Trump coming up with his bullshit. But this was, again, the Klan spokeswoman now in her, triumphant return with Sean Hannity coming right out to spew the same bullshit that Donald Trump was spewing, to put all of this on the left, to say it's the crazy liberals. It must be, again, Freddy Krueger and his crazy progressive liberal friends that went in there with their box cutters and hacked it up and somehow transported algae from other places in the country and then threw it into this pool. It couldn't be. Again, what everybody was suggesting is the darker color and the heat would then go on to produce this algae. And then it was almost like there was two different types of algae. They used the hydrogen peroxide to kill one type of algae, but then it went on to expand and create more of the other type of algae. You know what I mean? So it's like they're trying to do one thing. They're trying to help one problem. It's going on to help another problem persist. And they're just kind of chasing their fucking tail. You know what I mean? But here's, again, like I said, Klan spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt making a triumphant return here on with Sean Hannity to just push the, to push the administration's propaganda as it pertains to the reflecting pool disaster here. Let me see if we can just call out a little bit of her bullshit, and then we'll go into, I think, a little bit of, I think there's a CNN clip here where some of the lawyers, or one of the lawyers for somebody that has been arrested, I think it was actually the former Olympian, if I'm not mistaken, goes on CNN and basically just laughs at these charges right in their face. So we'll take a look at that after. But here's, like I said, Klan spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt on with Sean Hannity doing what she does best, carrying water for this administration, where she probably has no clue. She just got handed a sheet in her return. It was like, yeah, just say these talking points on with Hannity. Yeah, go for it there. Make sure to wear your cross too, lady.
In her very first interview since her maternity leave. We're glad to have her back. She has a new baby girl.
No cross, no cross. So, the lies are going to be flying hot and heavy here. No cross. Just want to point that out, ladies and gentlemen.
Our briefing with White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Want to talk about the baby or the algae? Where would you like to start?
Well, the baby is certainly much more enjoyable to talk about, Sean, but the algae is obviously the news of the day, and it is completely ridiculous. It's unbelievable to see these people, these deranged leftists in algae costumes with Team Algae on their backs. What does that even mean? Only the Democrats could hate beautifying our nation's capital and making it a symbol of pride again. But this is what
I think they're mocking it. I think that's what they're doing. I think they're trying to make a joke of it to cause the attention that it's causing. You're now talking about it to bring awareness to this disaster. I think that's what they're doing. They're mocking it. I think there was like a big pink frog and shit. Like, I think you're taking it a little bit too seriously here. Like, I don't think they're going home and writing fucking essays on defending algae. Pretty sure it was a joke. You know what I mean? Making fun of Donald Trump, making fun of the situation, as people typically do, because, what else are you going to do?
American people elected President Trump to do. He made this promise to them on the campaign trail that he was going to make our nation's capital both safe and beautiful again. And it is a promise.
Which, again, is exactly why people are calling out the fact that it's now fucking diarrhea green. It's killing ducks and shit because of the poisonous algae that they had to dump hydrogen peroxide in there to try to kill. But that hydrogen peroxide went on to further help the other type of algae to persist. You know what I mean? It's like this whole thing's a disaster from the start. I don't think there's any way that anybody could get around that. And now, again, in her first, what I suspect is her first TV appearance back from her maternity leave, Caroline Leavitt trying to carry the water, so to speak, for lack of a better term here, for the administration. But he did make the promise. He just didn't follow through, much like he doesn't follow through on any of his promises, Caroline.
That he has kept. With respect to safety, violent crime has plummeted. The city is the safest it's been in generations. Murders are down 40%. And with respect to the beautification of the city, I live here working, of course.
And again, it's almost like they're riding on the backs of the statistics and the crime statistics that were already on already going downhill, that were already dropping. As far as that was concerned, right? But again, to talk about anything other than the reflecting pool is what she wants to do, whether it's her kid or anything else. She's obviously not going to want to touch base on this unless it's to call out whatever, again, lefty she thinks hopped in there with the fucking box cutter and decided to hack up the bottom.
the White House, and you can see it with your own eyes as you travel throughout the city. The homeless encampments are gone. You see the parks are cleaned up. The
Go
president
fuck
has
yourself.
restored more than 120 monuments across the city. The National Park Service has used more than 150 tons of material to clean up the potholes that everybody hates. And I don't know about you and your audience, but this is the type of work that I want to see our tax dollars going towards.
Yeah, look at that.
Making our nation's
What I want to see is a bunch of people bent over with a bunch of gallons of hydrogen peroxide, dumping it in the reflecting pool, as opposed to, like I said, I don't know, maybe giving homeless people some shelter, as opposed to, I don't know, making it more easy to access health care, all of these different things that we talk about on a showly basis here. High-speed rail, making it more affordable to own a house, lowering the rent for people, making groceries more affordable, making vehicles and everything else that you need for your daily life more affordable. All these other things are I guess, again, we can understand beautification, we can understand that, but prioritization should also be something that we're looking at, right? How much struggle people are going through, as opposed to how much money we're spending in other places that really isn't going to go to benefit, again, the homeless people, the vets that aren't getting the care that they need, all of these other things, marginalized communities, you know what I mean? Just, the things that we bring up every single show.
Capital in our nation's cities safe and beautiful again for not just tourists, but the residents who live here. This is a very real problem in the district. It has been for a while.
Christ almighty. For some reason, I thought I was smart enough to bring up just a shortened clip of this, but clearly I wasn't. I'm not going to listen to about 9 minutes of the Klan spokeswoman here, so I'm going to fast forward where she gets onto her bullshit.
Problem. In fact, I spoke with the National Park Service just before joining the show. They now have 17 police reports that have been filed. In
Wow,
just a matter
reports. Oh my God, the reports. And you guys know how much a report is worth. You know what I mean? People that went down there and suspected or thought they saw something, or went down with a specific purpose to try to call somebody out, because again, there's a lot of maggots out there trying to push back on what people are reporting on as well. So again, these reports that are out there, and again, this Olympian that was arrested for apparently, oh my God, touching the floating piece of shit bottom that was at the top of the fucking pool, right? You know what I mean? Or these other people that were just like, scoping out the algae too closely, apparently. But again, like I said, that draws me into, I'll let her go for another 30 seconds and that's it. And that'll bring me into this CNN clip of like I said, I think this is the actual Olympian's lawyer on with CNN, where he's basically just laughing in the face of these charges, and it's, calling it utterly ridiculous on its face. So let's just see if we can go through another 30 seconds of KKK Caroline's bullshit, and then we'll get on to that CNN clip real quick. Make sure you hit that like button. I appreciate you guys. My name is Brian. This is Blunt Politics. Venmo's up in the corner. You can become a new YouTube member just underneath me. You can head over to patreon.com/BostonBrian. Head over to bostonbrian.com. Great merch site over there if you want, people to know exactly where you stand as far as history is concerned. If you want people to know that you're a part of the opposition, a part of the resistance, and you definitely don't stand with this MAGA cult, great stuff over there at bostonbrian.com. So check that out as well.
Matter of a few days, there's actually been 6 arrests at the reflecting pool.
6 arrests for what?
These deranged individuals.
For what? Any one of them? Did they have a box cutter on them by any chance? I'm just curious. Did any one of those 6, did they have like huge, massive box cutters, or did they have like, I don't know, a chainsaw? Right? Did they have Freddy Krueger hands in their bags for Halloween that they somehow used to scrape up the bottom? Any of these people? I'm just curious. Did they have like algae stuck in their pocket? Right? Would they have backpacks with algae from different parts of the country that they brought here? Any of those people? Any of those arrests? Any video footage of anything along those lines? No? Just curious? All right. Just thought I'd throw that out there. My bad.
Longtime donors to the Democrat Party, to Barack Obama, to Act Blue, that have been vandalizing and desecrating our federal monument, one of the most beautiful monuments in the world, the reflecting pool. And that's why President Trump is not.
You should have ample footage because of, like I said, all the people there with cell phones, all of the cameras that are now being towed behind vehicles, all of the police officers that are now there, all of the parks rangers that are now there. And again, you have no footage that you could show on Fox News of all places of any of these things taking place. And again, as Donald Trump says, there's video evidence. You don't think he'd send that over to Fox News? You don't think Stephen Chung would send that over to Fox News immediately to corroborate, to substantiate what Trump said? Bullshit. Come on. They'd be on top of that quicker than fucking Stephen Chung would be on a jelly donut.
going to stop with this effort. We're going to not only hold those people accountable, but we're going to fix the pool, continue to make it beautiful from this despicable vandalism just in time.
There's no place but up from here, Caroline. I got to tell you, there's just no place to go from but up from here, right? So again, it's going to have to be drained. It's going to have to be redone. They're already talking about that. But as far as the charges and the people arrested, that'll lead me directly into this clip here from CNN. Like I said, this is Norm Eisen. I believe he's representing the former Olympian. I'm forgetting his name at this moment in time. My apologies, but he was one of the people arrested for allegedly, defacing, desecrating the reflecting pool here that's added into Donald Trump's bullshit. So again, he's talking about the charges that were placed upon him, what his client actually did, as opposed to what they're trying to portray him actually doing. So like I said, I thought it'd be good to play at least a minute or two of this as he's calling out the nonsensical bullshit of these charges and how they're trying to place the blame upon the people calling out the chaos as opposed to the chaos themselves and the utter lack of professionalism shown here by this company that obviously fucked this up more than any other company probably could have fucked it up. All right, let's just see if we can get into a couple minutes of this. Like I said, this is the lawyer representing one of the people arrested in relation to the reflecting pool in Trump's bullshit here.
He's the attorney representing former U.S. Olympian David Hearn, who was arrested Friday for allegedly tampering with the reflecting pool. We should note Norm investigated Trump as counsel to House Judiciary Committee in the first impeachment of the trial of Donald Trump and litigated cases involving him previously. So, Norm, can you just give us a recap of what your client, what David was doing on Friday when he was arrested? What does he say he was doing?
David is, as you know, Anderson, a decorated...
David Hearn. My apologies. It slipped my mind for the time being. But David Hearn, former Olympian, as said here, and I'll let him go on and tell you a little bit more about him.
Olympian. He was on a long bike ride, as thousands of people do a day. As a concerned citizen, he went to check out this mess that Donald Trump has created of the reflecting pool. He did not break the law. He did nothing that in a more normal time or even a few days ago was unusual. And every American should be concerned at these kinds of crackdowns by the administration. There's been a long pattern of this administration targeting innocent individuals, Attorney General Tish James, FBI Director Jim Comey,
protesters more recently, anybody that has a social media account they disagree with has now been placed upon list. And no, not the list, not Peter Thiel's society list, a different list, list that they want to, people that they want to go after and attack and shun from society because, again, they're out there calling out Donald Trump's bullshit. Typically, anybody on the left is going to be on that list. But protesters, people in the media sphere, anybody that they could round up, intimidate, stoke fear upon. That's what they're trying to do here. And this is just like another one of those tactics. Anybody that's going to be near around this is going to get arrested. You're going to get fucking blamed for the obvious, shit job that was done in the revamping and the $14 or $15 million that was spent.
So
the president is the latest.
The president said that somebody cut a 250-foot thing with a knife, that other people have been tampering with knives. Did your client use any tool to peel off anything?
No.
Yeah. Broad daylight, went in there with thousands of people apparently around and just waited straight in there and cut a 350 foot long slice right down the middle of this. It was actually cutting chunks for people walking by. You want a chunk? He was like Oprah Winfrey in that bitch. He was like, you get a chunk. You get a chunk of the bottom. You want some algae? You get some algae. Everybody gets some algae. That's what he was doing. Broad daylight, but no video footage of this. Again, nothing that Fox News could show or Donald Trump could show to prove any of the cases that they're now trying to make against these 6 or 7 or so people that have been arrested in relation to the alleged defacing of the reflecting pool here.
No, of course not, Anderson. And there'll be ample proof he could not have dragged a 250-foot knife line down this pool. He did nothing unusual, nothing different. It appears that law
And again, I'd
enforcement
say this is probably as close as you'll get to having a lawyer just completely burst out into laughter on national television. Like this is a lawyer struggling to contain himself as far as laughter is concerned. I know it may not come across like that to normal people, but this is a lawyer on television kind of like just utterly bewildered by these charges and the suggestion that his client here somehow waded into the pool, cut a 250-foot fucking slice, or anybody that has now been wrapped up. I mean, there's video on Twitter of people that are either been arrested or cited just for kind of sticking their hand in there and either scooping up like a handful of the algae, or like I said, picking up a small piece of the blue bottom that's floating around. Like, that's being seen now as the, but that's not the cause, right? That's not the cause of why that happened. Right. You can see people doing that. You can see them getting cited and arrested, but that's not the cause. It's crazy to think like that's the reasoning behind what's going on. And it's not just people because of the ample news coverage going down there to check it out themselves or to report it on themselves. Like I said, I think it was the Swedish lady, the Swedish reporter that was down there, and she didn't know the rule about not touching. They make it seem like, they don't want your hands to get burnt because of all the chemicals they had to dump in there, which is probably a great thing, for the wildlife. I'm sure, you can't stick a human hand in there for more than 2 seconds. So I'm sure it's great for the ducks, the geese, the swans, and everything else that kind of utilizes that reflecting pool. You know what I mean? Don't worry about that. But, he goes on where he just kind of laughs at these charges, really. And I'm curious what the actual charges were if he says them here.
was there in order to find an excuse for the president to make these claims without evidence, Anderson. But we're talking about
let me
human
just
lives
ask,
here.
When he was arrested, did he have any large paint chips on him? I mean, these are questions I never thought I would be asking, but any piece of the lining?
Not. No, of course not, Anderson. This is a meritless prosecution. We will get into all the details in court. Every American should be concerned about this.
And like I said, he just kind of goes on and shows the absurdity of all of this. But, I just thought it would be good to look at somebody just laughing directly in the face of all this and calling it out like it is just, another attempt to try to pass the buck, to try to pass the blame onto anybody else besides Donald Trump or this administration for their obvious screw up. I mean, come on. Obvious fucking screw up that you're going to spend $15 million. It's going to turn diarrhea green. We're going to be talking about multiple forms of algae in there. I'm no algae expert, but I believe one was a blue algae, one's a green algae. They tried to kill the blue algae with the hydrogen peroxide, which eventually led to the expansion of the green algae. And again, correct me from in the chat if I'm wrong. I'm sure there's always somebody in the chat that's more up to speed and knowledgeable about that specific situation. But, let me know. As far as I've been seen, that I've read up on, that's exactly what was taking place. So it's only kind of been made worse on one hand while trying to mitigate some of the damages from the obvious screw up of what took place here at the reflecting pool. But again, just another way for the administration to crack down on people, to have these ridiculous arrests, to try to stoke fear into people, so they can either, not want to call it out, not go down there at all, to, to videotape it and to see what's actually going on. Just another fair tactic, really. You know what I mean? And here's, again, we'll get into the Three Stooges of Newsmax. That should take us into the first Three Stooges real nicely here. And this is Carl Shitby, as I call him, and he's going to go on further with Caroline Levitt's bullshit here about the reflecting pool, and he calls it Democrats will throw a fit over anything. Liberals, as usual, whine and ignore facts on reflecting pool's story, and then he's going on to again call out the funny costumes and the obviously mocking and joking about the algae in this situation. People dressed up in fucking frog costumes and I don't think they're really that serious about the whole thing, to tell you the truth. But Kyle Shidby again trying to carry more water for this. We'll call him out, and then we got another one here from what's his name here? What's this guy's asshole's name? Rob Finnerty. This thing, yeah, I believe that's what his name is. And that's going on to the Iran peace deal. So that's a separate situation. So this is the last on the reflecting pool we got with Carl Shitby here. So after this one, we'll dive into a little bit of the, the embarrassment coming from the Iran negotiations where, J.D. Vance coming out and professing basically the one big or major step that was made in these peace talks. And then immediately that coming out and being refuted by the Iranians saying, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, which is pretty much what they've said time and time again. Any announcement by J.D. Vance or or Donald Trump has been met with the Iranians saying, I don't know what the fuck he means. Because not only did we not say that, none of our mediators have said that, none of the people we've spoken to have admitted to that or suggested that or agreed to that. You know what I mean? So this is just another way in which that took place with the IAEA and the Apparent Atomic Energy Agency, being able to inspect over there in Iran. Iran immediately coming out and saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Didn't happen. Never took place. That's not what we agreed to. That's just a clear and utter lie there from JD Vance and Donald Trump. But before we get into that, let's call out this idiot. Again, the first in our trio of Newsmax Three Stooges, Kyle Shitby, about the scum, the pond scum, as he calls it.
This is the Democrat Party. Pro-algae protests on the Lincoln Party.
Pro-algae. Pro-algae, like, shut the fuck up. Like, are you honestly, you can't sit there and you understand that it's literally just making a mockery of what is a mockery, right? Drawing attention to what is a ridiculous situation. You know what I mean? Like, is it that difficult to see the forest through the trees there, Kyle? Or are you obfuscating on purpose and try to make it look like, these are like serious people that are always out there with Team Algae t-shirts and go home and they jerk off to algae and shit. You know what I mean?
Because they hate Trump and they want his renovations of the reflecting pool to fail. So much so that they have people.
Nobody wants them to fail. We don't need to want them to fail. They are failing. They have failed. They failed. It took about 36 hours for them to do so. I mean, even we thought it may last a little longer than that. Even we thought $15 million would get us more than, 27 hours. You know what I mean? With blue water, apparently. But that's not what we got. We went from blue immediately to fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, ooze, immediately into child diaper diarrhea green, right? With these fucking, more algae types than, fucking, what's his name? Could even, report. What's his name? David Attenborough. You know what I mean? It's like, even he couldn't pinpoint how many different species of algae are growing in the reflecting pool at this point. It's crazy. But again, I'll let him go on so we can call it out. He's kind of spewing the same bullshit as KKK Caroline, though. But I'll let him go on a little bit.
Vandalizing it. So far, 6 people as of this afternoon have been arrested and 5 people issued citations for some form of vandalism.
Citations. Holy shit. Really cracking down with us on those citations, baby.
And or just call it unruly actions regarding the monument.
Yeah, unruly actions regarding the monument. Now, do they have box cutters? I'll ask you again. I asked Caroline in the earlier segment. Did any one of those people that were arrested or cited, do they have a huge box cutter on them? No? Did they have a backpack with like an algae station for them to just go out and start lobbing algae into the pool so nobody could see it? Did they have a chainsaw? Do they have a huge butcher knife? Anything? None of those things that you could report on, Kyle?
I'm ready to bring the receipts, too.
I can't help it if somebody goes in with a knife and starts hacking it up.
That's not a receipt. That's not a receipt. That's a decrepit, demented old fool with the worst hairdo I've ever seen in my entire life, spewing his usual nonsensical bullshit, right? Trying to get himself out of culpability, trying to get himself out of responsibility. Again, he was the one that wanted this. He's the guy that hired the company. He's the one that probably, chose the color, chose the type of paint that they used, all of this different shit. Like, he's the guy. He's your man. If you want to blame somebody, he's the guy. But, this isn't really instilling any trust in me. This, like, again, the guy that looks like an orange that sat outside in Florida for about 37, maybe 87 years with no moisture whatsoever. And somebody decided to stick a blonde wig on him after that.
We also have pictures of it. We have
Can you
pictures.
release the photos?
Release the photos. Release those photos. Please
See it
do.
in court.
Yeah, in court. Only in court, though, unfortunately.
Whoopi maintains that this is all just Trump's fault.
He is claiming that vandals are to blame. He says they illegally placed chemicals in the water. It seems to me that had he not messed with the pool, it would still be a reflecting pool instead of a liquid jungle.
But it was even more of a liquid jungle before Trump did any of the renovations. And also, he stopped it from leaking Like this ought to age like warm milk. What is she going to say?
Look at warm milk. I think what you wanted to say there was warm milk. What actually came out was more milk. Not sure if you quite landed that. You didn't stick that landing like you wanted to, Carl. But, it happens to the best of us. Like I said, I'm human. But I don't typically suck up or kiss boots or lick boots for the side that says they're the best speakers. They have the most knowledge. They know the most on a situation more than anybody else in the world. They're the best speakers. They have the best words type of thing. Typically not said by anybody on our side. We'll rightfully raise our right hands to our mistakes, our deficiencies over here, as opposed to you assholes.
We find out in court, as Trump said, that he was right again. But check this out. This was the single broadcast, not wall-to-wall coverage, the single broadcast we could find on it from 2012.
It's really sludgy up this end.
And what's in it?
Algae.
It's not right.
I don't think anybody's ever said that it hasn't happened before. Absolutely, it's been a problem before. It's been a persistent problem. But again, to spend $15 million and have that come back in about 22 hours is a problem, you would admit, right? I mean, algae then is a problem and algae now is a problem. So you can see how the inconsistencies are coming into play. So now all of a sudden it's not a problem, but it was a problem when it did happen in previous years, right? But that's a problem now, not a problem, as they want to go on and portray. So you can see how the hypocrisy comes in. I can think anybody on our side would say, yes, any times that the reflecting pool would look like this, I think we could call it a problem, right? I think we could all say that the amount of water that was leaking out of it was a problem. But we could all probably go on to say that if we were going to spend the money to fix it, to do it right, to make sure that, we used a company that had some sort of knowledge in that area, has done something like that before and wasn't just a fucking donor to your campaign and said, hey, I think we know how to do that. Let me take a shot at that fucking national monument. You know what I mean? It's like, that's just not how it works, not how it's supposed to work. But yes, I think we're, easily over here just to be able to call out when it does look like that it is a problem. I don't think that's a big deal or an issue.
After a $34 million renovation that lasted nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
But less than a month later, the famous pool of water is full of algae.
Right, a problem in which needed to be addressed, obviously. Again, no issues telling about, depending on whether it was the filtration system or where they were getting the water in general. Definitely a problem. Was that fixed on this go-around? Curious. Was it fixed with this, this recent renovation? Oh, no? No, it wasn't. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. That's exactly what we continue to call out, right? That's why the problem persists is the actual issue.
President 2012. Oh, that's right, Barack Obama. So, but now that they've done all this stuff and people keep screwing it up, they now have to have the National Guard literally guarding.
They don't, though. That's the thing. They actually literally don't need the National Guard there, guarding anything. Really. I don't think it's a problem that people are sticking their waterproof GoPros down there to get a shot of the peeling bottom. Right? I don't think you're going to sit there and you're going to find Team Algae, again, trucking in truckloads of fucking algae from other places in the country to make Donald Trump look bad. You don't need the National Guard around the reflecting pool, I assure you.
National monument, because liberals can't be trusted to not destroy things. Like, if you haven't been following this, it's the craziest study. It is like the case study in how nuts the left has become. The reflecting pond prior to Trump was leaking
pool. It's a pool, not a pond. It looks like a pond right now at this moment because of the algae, because it's green, right? Because of the shit floating at the top. Looks like fucking lily pad. So I can understand where you get pond from, but it's a pool. It's a reflecting pool, okay?
16 million gallons a year. It was full of algae and all messed up for the last few decades. So Trump decides he doesn't go in there. He's going to do his building stuff and fix it, along with a bunch of other...
His building stuff. Yeah, that's what Trump was doing. He's going in there doing his building stuff. Hey, who gave the most money to my campaign? You get the job. Let's do our building stuff. How about that? Oh, man. All right, so that was at least the first idiot on Newsmax, the first of the three stooges that I want to call out. Here's the second of the two, but this is a switch of topics here. We're now going to go into the embarrassment that is JD Vance, the ridiculous rhetoric that's coming from Donald Trump, the lies coming from JD Vance and Donald Trump, and again, the repudiation coming from the Iranian side. This is, again, just utter and sheer chaos from the moment this started. JD Vance saying that he only had about a day or two, to dedicate to these talks. Meanwhile, people on the other side saying that they're willing to sit there as long as it takes, be there as long as it takes to hash out these problems. But no, JD Vance is on a strict time schedule. Apparently, he had to get back for Usha Vance's book reading segment on her fucking kids television podcast she does. I don't know what the fuck it is. It's creepy. It's weird. He gives her a little pat on the knee. I don't know if you guys have seen that clip. If if you haven't. Check it out after the show. JD Vance like pats his wife on the knee. Strange shit, really strange shit. But this is Rob Finnerty, if I'm not mistaken, now trying to say that this is going very well, trying to get you to believe that this is another historic moment here from JD Vance, and it's anything but, obviously. And the title of this is The Real Reasons Trump is Taking Hits on Iran Narrative. Oh, excuse me, this is Rob Schmidt. My apologies. They're so inconsequential that I'm getting their fucking names mixed up, and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. This is Rob Shit. My apologies. But that's all right, though, because like I said, it's on Newsmax, and it's not really that relevant. So, but this is, again, about the potential piece, and he's calling out the reason in which Donald Trump is taking hits, and I believe he's kind of getting close to reality a little bit, a little too close to the sun if you're on the MAGA side, because he's accurately calling out the reason why a little bit of the reason why Donald Trump's taken so much heat is how long they've been bashing the JCPOA, and that the outcome of this is so far beyond and worse anything that they've been calling out as far as, Obama's JCPOA. Like, that's a reason in which Donald Trump's feeling so much heat, in which he's right? You can't go out there and rip up the JCPOA, not have a replacement, say it was shit, tell them it was, the worst deal ever made, and it afforded them nuclear weapons, and it had Obama's name on it, and this, that, and the other thing, and then come out here and show us the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, what's being afforded to Iran now, the nothing that the United States got in return, now coming out and possibly having the IAEA being directly refuted by the Iranians. But even if that did happen, even if it did come to fruition and the IAEA did agree to go in and start going in and doing checks again, we're going right back to where the JCPOA got us. You know what I mean? So again, that's not anything better. That was already agreed upon. They had already agreed to that before we started bombing their shit, right? Before we lost 13 servicemen and women. Before we spent billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars on this war, before we eliminated a substantial portion of our stockpiles, whether it be missiles or interceptors, right? Like, before all of that happened, we already had the IAEA involved. They already had Iran willing to agree to that. We had that in the JCPOA. So again, even if, and that hasn't happened yet, like I said, already been refuted by the Iranians, directly refuted by the Iranians, as you'll see coming up. But even if that did happen, you're still only walking yourself even a little closer to what the JCPOA had gotten us, right? That's it. So how you're trying to portray that as a victory or something like above and beyond Obama's nuclear deal there is ridiculous. But again, here's Rob Schmidt here, Rob Shit as I call him, talking about the real reasons Trump has taken hits. So let's see what he has to say here.
Now, part of why this deal is so difficult to sell to the American people, and it has been thus far, is because Trump and Republicans spent years mocking Obama for making a deal with Iran's always lying, terrorist-producing regime. The JCPOA was their deal, and it has been ridiculed for more than a decade as a total capitulation to terror.
I love it, because if that's a total capitulation, right? All the things that was stipulated to, all of the different countries that signed on to the JCPOA, if that was a fucking capitulation, what does that make what Donald Trump is going through right now? Like, that is just a wholehearted surrender then, okay? That is quite literally the United States waving the white flag, right? Not just a capitulation, it is a full surrender. It is take all of our troops, take all of our weapons. It's not just we agree to lay down our arms, but you can have our fucking arms, okay? That's pretty much what you have to, equate this new MOU to if in your mind somehow the JCPOA was the United States directly capitulating to a terrorist regime, okay? Now we have a more hardline regime in place, right? Probably going to be a more prolonged regime considering the age discrepancies and differences between the Ayatollah now and his father. Obviously, his father wasn't going to be around as long as his son has the potential to be now. Clearly more affiliated with the IRGC, more people pissed off because of the bombings that took place. This guy more pissed off because his father was assassinated. All of these things, again, putting us in a worse position, making it less likely that we're going to have, an amenable relationship with the Iranians going forward, and less likely that we'll get back to anything that even resembles, again, the JCPOA. So It's again, they have to pull this turd out of Trump's ass to shine it up to make it seem like a gold nugget every single time, but they're just unable to do so. And at least here, he's recognizing what's kind of handcuffing them a little bit is Donald Trump's bluster and his bravado and his racist bullshit against Barack Obama is going directly to hurt any of the propaganda wins that he's trying to achieve or trying to perpetuate through the media right now. He can't, because the thing that he called out was decisively and conclusively much better of a deal than anything we're likely to see here. Anything. And that's just period, point blank, end of fucking story. You can shut the door, close the light, and that's it on that one. There's no other things to be said.
Administration literally funding evil in exchange for what was a very flimsy nuclear deal that Iran cheated anyway. After all that trash talk
So what's the more hardline regime gonna do there, fucking Robbie? Huh? There, shithead. What the fuck do you think the more hardline, the younger, more hardlined, more pissed off regime is likely to do? Are they gonna be trustworthy? Okay, so we're getting less in return. Meanwhile, we're affording them billions and billions and billions of dollars potentially, whether through the sales of oil, the relinquishing of our sanctions, the potential tolls that they're likely to start getting through the Strait of Hormuz, whether it be just the Iranians or in conjunction with Oman, because it seemed like, as I saw reported, the Iranians went straight from Switzerland straight to Oman to have talks with Oman, and they put out a release where they're looking fucking happy and peachy, just like it says in the MOU, that they're going to be able to come out of this charging tolls and fees after, what was it, the 60-day stipulation or 30-day stipulation? I forget at this point in time, but, definitely not something that Donald Trump's out there talking about or saying is going to happen, because it wouldn't be a good look for him. And the neocons and the hardliners on his side of things that are calling him out from the right that want to see him go in and do more bombing, more war, they're now getting on his nerves as well.
last week's memorandum of understanding was probably not the best thing to put out in that moment. It looked like a list of goodies and money for Iran based on simply a promise to end its nuclear ambitions.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
And that is kind of the issue here. What we're going to do tonight is kind of dive into all of this and lay it out for you in a way that's easy to understand. But first, here's JD Vance saying this after leaving the negotiations from Switzerland.
We laid a very good foundation for a successful final deal.
Listen,
the final deal is the house. We set the foundation. We haven't built the house, but we've laid a successful foundation to get to a good place for the American people. I think it's important for all of us to
We haven't built the house yet. We haven't really ordered the wood. The lumber's on back order. Unfortunately, we couldn't find the cranes either. But don't worry, we have picked out the actual foundation. We know where it's going to lie. We haven't picked it out per se. We know where it's going to go. We drew it on a map. Well, it's not a map, really. It's a napkin that we looked at a bar with a fucking crayon. But we do have we have concepts of a plan of the foundation that will likely at some point be able to build a house upon that foundation. Like the word salad that they have to go through. You know what I mean? It's not a deal. It's a memorandum of understanding to maybe possibly at some point continue these talks into the future. Possibly, maybe, sort of, kind of.
Appreciate how much was done, but honestly, there is still a lot to do as we continue to make progress on the nuclear talks, on the economic talks, as we continue to demine the straits and ensure that flow of traffic continues to pick back up. A lot of progress, but still some work to do, and we're very committed to doing exactly that.
So this is the sausage making. This is not, the best time to be watching something like this. This is when the administration is going to take the most hits for this deal. Of course, that's how it works. He says they're laying a foundation. But the Iranian regime, as we all know, is immediately getting relief from the tremendous pressure that we have applied through this blockade and through all of this bombing.
So what you're saying is, Rob, is we got nothing in return but promises from, again, somebody that you just correctly pointed out has made promises before, but because we've broken the promises that we made to them, they didn't back up their so it's basically a big back and forth of people breaking promises, right? But you're going to rely upon that. You're going to trust that now going forward, to take Donald Trump's word for it, that now we're at like the end of all of this. Meanwhile, you're sitting here saying and listening to JD Vance saying that, we're at the point of building a foundation. You know what I mean? Typically, you can't live in a foundation, right? A finished plan, a finished deal would probably represent the finished home, like all of the furniture inside, right? All of the fixtures work, all the appliances are functioning, like you can live in the home. That would be equated to the finalized deal. Right now, this MOU is, as you just heard, JD Vance sitting there scratching his head around a fucking construction site thinking about where we could possibly lay the foundation. You know what I mean? Like, that's the point that we're at as he tries to get across there.
Detail is very bothersome. It bothers Trump supporters, it bothers Israel, it bothers pretty much everybody, and it's a hell of a lot of ammunition for Trump's critics. But as we said last week, at its core, this deal, whatever it is going to be wholly different than Obama's, because this one comes.
I mean, I think what you said different. What you really meant to say was worse by every measure, right? By every possible data set you could bring up right now, it's going to be objectively worse.
With the continued threat of decimation, a threat that the Obama administration would have never made against Iran, because as you see in these photos with John Kerry standing there, Obama's negotiating.
Did he say the threat of decimation? So he's talking about Trump's threat of decimating the Iranian civilization. So again, did that win us the war? Did that work? Did that bring the Iranians crawling to the table on their knees, desperate to capitulate so that we could stop the blockade? I don't think so. Right now, they're still fucking doing a happy dance. They're still doing their victory dance on this, right? He's flying over from fucking Switzerland to Oman. I believe it was Galabaf, if I'm not mistaken, right over to Oman to be like, okay, why don't we set these prices here? How much are we going to charge? How much are we going to charge? We got about 56 days to decide how many billions we're going to make each day. What do you think? What do you think? Because this president over there is an idiot, and he's basically given us this huge nuclear weapon, which is the Strait of Hormuz. Why don't we share in the profits? We'll share in the proceeds here.
Team was full of regime sympathizers. The Obama team sympathized with Iran. They had a heart for Iran. They had a lot of loyalists to Iran in their State Department.
I mean, again, the people that worked for several years on that deal, right? Not just like a fucking flimsy 1-2 week process or 2-day process where you send JD Vance to Switzerland, but he has to be back because either, Usha wants him to read a kid's book or he's got to get back for his daughter fucking soccer practice, apparently. I don't know. He can't spend too much time on these, world fucking, world relating peace talks that we have going on right now. Things that could potentially affect the entire planet. Why you wouldn't want to spend too much time there, really. But again, Rob Schmidt doing and carrying basically the same jugs of water here. He's at least admitting to a certain degree why they're struggling and why everybody has this ammunition against Donald Trump because of the JCPOA that he ripped up and the inability to get anywhere near that type of deal that we had not that long ago that he was unable to replace. So at least to that extent, Rob is accurately calling out or realizing, I should say, recognizing why they're having such a difficulty and why everybody is obviously and rightfully against this MOU and how disastrous it is. But this was the post made by Donald Trump here. Let me see here because, this is where he's talking about, and I'll read the whole thing. He says, despite their protestations and false statements, I'll put this on the screen. My apologies. Let me throw that up. There we go. All right. Despite their protestations and false statements to the contrary, coupled with the drumbeat of the fake news, which is doing everything possible to make the U.S. victory as small and insignificant as possible, Iran has fully and completely agreed to the highest level of nuclear inspections long into the future. Infinity. So he turns into fucking Buzz Lightyear here, apparently. I don't know what time he put this out. Let me see if it says on his little post real quick. Sometimes it says at the bottom of his post. No, this one doesn't show it, but not sure what time he put this out. But apparently after some point in time in the evening, he turns into Buzz Lightyear because he's going to infinity and beyond. But again, this is where he states, as JD Vance did, that the Iranians have fully agreed to the highest level of nuclear inspections long into the future. Infinity, in parentheses, 3 exclamation points. This will ensure nuclear honesty. If they did not agree to this, there would be no further negotiations. Based on this and other major concessions being made by Iran, I have agreed to allow the Strait of Hormuz to remain open with no further naval blockade. However, all ships are remaining in place should it be necessary to reinstitute the blockade, which seems at this point highly unlikely. The money and or sanctions that the U.S. Treasury is releasing goes into escrow controlled by the USA and will be used for the purchase of food and medical supplies exclusively from the United States, including corn, wheat, soybeans from our great American farmers. These are things that are desperately needed by Iran. And again, 2 things, not only not in the MOU, but obviously directly and immediately contradicted and disputed by the Iranians, right? So first thing being that they had fully agreed to the nuclear inspections for long into the future. They say they didn't. And the second thing here is Donald Trump stating and trying to kind of smooth over the amount of money that's going to be afforded to the Iranians, right? And saying that, oh, don't worry, guys, the money that we're going to be sending over to them, the billions that we're going to be sending over to them, it's okay because they're rightfully and going to have to, they'll spend that in our country. They're going to have to buy from our American farmers with that money. So inevitably, it's going to come right back to us. While the Iranians say, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Okay, we didn't say that. We didn't stipulate that. We didn't agree to that. Let me see. I think I had this one as well. Yeah, there was this. Let me throw this on the screen. This is from Clash Report. Trump claims Iran approved nuclear inspections as Tehran denies IAEA access. U.S. President Donald Trump claims Iran agreed to permanent nuclear inspections under a new diplomatic framework, an assertion Tehran immediately denied. The contradiction exposes friction in the 60-day memorandum aimed at settling sanctions and broader regional conflicts. Let's see if they have the post here. It says, President Donald Trump asserted Tuesday that Tehran agreed to permanently international inspections of its nuclear program, a claim Iranian officials deny. The contradiction emerges following the initial rounds of talks in Switzerland aimed at resolving the broader Middle East conflict. Washington and Tehran recently entered a 60-day MOU to settle issues encompassing sanctions relief and Iran's nuclear operations. Trump stated that Iran fully agreed to the highest level of nuclear inspections long into the future. That's the post that we just showed. Meanwhile, that seems to be directly contradicted by the Iranian side. He claimed that this concession would ensure nuclear honesty. Iranian officials earlier Tuesday refuted that assertion made by Trump and J.D. Vance. Foreign Minister spokesperson Esmail Baghi stated that Tehran has held no meetings with the International Atomic Energy Agency and has no plans to permit inspections. Conflicting claims on IAEA access. Iran's ambassador to the UN, Ali Bahraini, corroborated the foreign ministry's stance. He confirmed that there is no decision to allow inspectors back into the country. This says Iran's FM spokesperson Esmail Baghi says, we have no plans for the IAEA to inspect Iran's nuclear facilities that were damaged as a result of the enemy's aggression. We have not had any meeting with the Director General of the IAEA, which again is probably, a pretty big piece of evidence to suggest that it's the Iranians more likely telling the truth on this as opposed to the United States telling the truth on this, because you would suspect if in fact the Iranians had agreed to have the IAEA, the Atomic Energy Agency, go in and start inspecting their nuclear facilities, that the Director General of the IAEA would be involved in those negotiations or would make a statement or would say that they were engaged in these talks and this has been agreed to. Nothing that I've seen since the time that we came on live that had been reported to that point. So again, this is the spokesperson here saying that there was no agreement to have the IAEA inspect their nuclear facilities, and that they've had no meeting with the Director General of the IAEA as well.
دو سوالتون خیر. ما نه دیداری با مدیر کل آژانس بین‌المللی انرژی اتمی داشتیم و نه برنامه‌ای برای بازرسی آژانس از
It would help if the translation or the captions were in English. They're not, unfortunately, but I think we get the gist of it from what was written and translated up here by the Clash Report. It says that Tehran initially blocked the UN nuclear watchdog from its sites following a 12-day war in the mid-2025. During that conflict, the B-2 stealth bombers deployed bunker-busting munitions on Iranian nuclear facilities at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. The full extent of the damage to those sites remains unknown. Trump previously claimed the facilities were completely obliterated during the strikes, as we talked about on the last show. But here's where J.D. Vance himself repeats that same claim, saying that this was like a huge achievement, basically stating this as the major accomplishment, the major achievement coming from what originally started off as a disastrous set of peace talks where, immediately upon arriving, Donald Trump had put out his threats, basically stating that the negotiators wouldn't even make it back to Iran because they'd be killed, they'd be slaughtered if in fact they didn't get to a deal or if something specific was done. Also, again, threatening Iran with total devastation and taking out, its facilities as well. So basically what happened was the Iranian delegation then walked out of the conversations. You can see in the video footage and clips that we might be able to pull up here. I think there's a couple of them that we can go through where JD Vance is in the background getting word that Donald Trump said something stupid. The Iranians were now reacting. He goes over to try to smooth it over. Again, handshakes were missed. Photo ops weren't had. You could tell there was definitely signals and messages being sent behind the scenes. Apparently, it turned around. The Iranians agreed to come back. This is JD Vance now coming out of those talks, applauding himself, patting himself on the back for this huge achievement. Meanwhile, that same and specific achievement that he's talking about here is, again, directly and immediately refuted by the Iranian side. So check this out.
We set that up as well. Number 3, and this is probably what we're most excited about as Americans, the Iranians have agreed to invite IAEA inspectors back into their country.
Apparently they didn't. Apparently that's nonsense. Apparently that's make-believe. Apparently that's bullshit. And that's not was either specifically agreed to or anything that was agreed to at all. Again, taking the the comments and the statements coming from the Iranian side.
That is a major milestone for the American people and the first step in permanently denuclearizing or permanently ending a nuclear weapons program in Iran.
And again, it wouldn't be the first step, okay, dickhead? Because again, that something was already agreed to as a part of the JCPOA. So that wouldn't be the first step. It would actually be the second time we're making that same step, okay? So we're now reverting back to hopefully at some point getting something even remotely similar to some of the stipulations that were in the JCPOA that Donald Trump directly ripped up without anything to fucking replace it with, basically because it had a black man's name on it. Okay, if we're being fucking real, just like he's gone on to rip up and throw away and spit on and shit on everything else that Barack Obama has touched, been a part of, signed, because it's a black man who did it. And Donald Trump cannot have a black man, better liked, more respected, put on a pedestal above Donald Trump or any of his achievements. Can't have it. So that's why he's doing all of this shit. That's why we're now feeling economic pain because of this guy's fucking underlying or overlying racism, right? Whether or not he admits to it, that's exactly what the fuck is going on. But JD Vance here trying to, again, stipulate what the Iranians have directly called out. There was also this, let me see here. There was this posted by Midas Touch. Iran is publicly calling out Donald Trump and JD Vance for lying, directly contradicting key claims that the Trump regime has made about the U.S.-Iran agreement. After Trump claimed that any released Iranian funds would be tightly controlled by the United States and used only for approved humanitarian purchases. So we just talked about the wheat, the soybeans. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson flatly rejected that characterization, right? He said, quote, regarding Iran's released assets previously illegally blocked by the U.S., we will decide how to utilize them as we deem fit. There are no restrictions in this regard. Iran also pushed back on Vance's claim about future nuclear inspections. As we just talked about, Iran Foreign Minister spokesperson Esmail Baghaei said Iran has no plans to allow the IAEA inspectors to enter nuclear sites that were damaged during the war. Again, directly flying in the face of everything that Trump and JD Vance was just trying to get across or portray as something being a huge milestone reached as far as those negotiations were concerned. Just seeing if there was anything else here reported as far as that was concerned. Iran spokesperson regarding that's what we just talked about. But I'm sure Iran is going to use that money to bail out American farmers like Trump and Vance said yesterday, says Ron Filipkowski here from Midas Touch. But just showing you again how ridiculous the lies are and how chaotic these from the moment this was enacted. And of course, everything that we could touch on as far as this administration is concerned just turns to shit right away, turns to chaos right away. And these peace talks have been no different. To sit there for, what was it, another 20-something hours or more, engage in these talks, and then not be able to come out and fucking say your piece on the same page, right? For JD Vance to say one thing and the Iranians to come out and say something completely and totally different, just goes to show you how, like, unprofessional and erratic these talks are and how useless they are as far as JD Vance is concerned. But let's see here if there was anything else that I want to show you on here. Let's see. I think Drop Site may have had... Oh, yeah, this was the racist New York Post mocking Trump's peace plan here with Iran. Iran getting $10 billion oil boost from U.S. before signing a full nuclear deal. Easy moolah, it says here. Let's see. I think there was a couple other things that I want to say. This was, did they show where he went to Oman? Yeah, here you go. Just showing you this. Oman and Iran reaffirmed that any decisions regarding the Strait of Hormuz must respect the sovereignty of both countries. They also agreed to continue discussions through a joint work group to explore future arrangements and management of the strategic waterway. Right. So again, showing not only control, but almost joint control over the Strait of Hormuz. Again, putting into play, putting into the works, starting that cog of putting tolls and fees in place to any ships that are traveling through the strait. Again, something that they weren't afforded the ability to do before Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu enacted this war that they're now engaged in and coming out on the losing side of. This is also Trump saying that 19 million barrels of oil flowed through the Strait of Hormuz. We called this out the other day. I called bullshit. Not only that, but I think there was over 20 million barrels to flow through the strait every single day to begin with. So how the 19 million would be a record is ridiculous. But again, the way in which it's opened, it's closed, it's opens, it's closed, depending on what Trump says or does. Again, it doesn't bode well for the just us going back to wherever position we were before this war started right off the bat, right? So this is reported 8 hours ago. Hezbollah says that Israeli attack in southern Lebanon killed 2 civilians and breached the ceasefire. Israel says it attacked armed men in southern Lebanon, citing security concerns near the Ali al-Tahar Ridge, right? So again, just showing you the ongoing nonsense and chaos surrounding that as well. Netanyahu met with Serb member Bosnia-Herzegovina presidency. Only the Republika Srpska flag was displayed. The flag of Bosnia and Herzegovina was absent. So just showing you a little bit of what was reported here by Dropside. All right, let's go on to this next one here, which I believe was, Greg Kelly's dumbass doing his bid here. So this is the end of the line, the final in the trio of dumbasses, the Three Stooges of Newsmax. We got Greg Kelly bringing up the rear here, and he's examining Vice President J.D. Vance's body language amid the U.S.-Iran talks at Lake Lucerne in Switzerland here. So I'm curious what Greg Kelly, the world's dumbest man, or the dumbest man at least on television, gets from this, and how much he's reading into J.D. Vance's body language, if you know what I mean. But here he says, Greg Kelly examines Vice President Vance's body language amid U.S.-Iran talks. Let's see what bullshit we can call out here. And then we're going to get into some of the updates coming from Ukraine. We got Dennis Davidov here giving us some updates about Crimea. And then we got some strikes going into Russia. And then I believe here we got to talk about what's going on around Konstantinivka. Because like I said, we always talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. Can't just consistently report on the successes. We also have to keep everybody on the same page and everybody on a level playing field as it pertains to different concerns or different areas of concern on the front. So I think Preston Stewart's going to give us an update on where the Russians are trying to make a push in and around Konstantinivka and what to expect around there. But that's coming up. So let's call out a little bit of Greg Kelly before we dive into a little bit of the Ukraine update. So again, here's Greg Kelly, the dumbest man on television. Take it away, Greg.
All right. This whole Iran thing can work. I'm very confident, actually. From what I'm hearing.
What makes you confident, Greg? Let us know.
What I'm not hearing, my gut feeling, a lot of things kind of going into why I'm pretty confident that we're in control. All right. Yeah, there's some trash.
That's what you get out of this, huh? You get out of this that we're in control somehow? Like, that's what you read into this? All the stories, right? The F-18s, the F-15s, the F-35s, the Apaches, the U.S. bases, the billions of dollars spent, the ability that Iran had to withstand the U.S. blockade for a considerable longer period of time than we suspected. The fact that the Iranian stockpiles are at like 70% of what they were prior to what they had before this war started, against everything that Donald Trump would tell you. The fact that we're getting nothing in return for this MOU, the fact that we're handing over billions of dollars, or somebody apparently is handing over billions of dollars, that Donald Trump is lying about the IAEA. He's lying about the fact that the frozen assets are going to go back to the United States and the farmers to purchase wheat and soybeans and all the other shit that Iran says we don't know what the fuck he's talking about. We didn't agree to that. Don't know what he's saying. Like, that's giving you confidence to suggest that we're in control here? Fuck me. That's crazy.
Going on. There are threats of a walkout. There are all kinds of tweets from Iran.
No. There wasn't threats of a walkout. They did walk out. They walked the fuck out, right? And they made it clear that they protested what Donald Trump was saying, again, about killing the mediators, killing the people over there, negotiating this process before they got back to Iran, and the other bullshit things that he said. They did protest that, but again, they agreed to come back to the negotiating table and speak. But then what came from those discussions, what came from those fucking talks, apparently they were both on two different pages. You know what I mean? So there was no agreements made that I could see. Again, it was clear and utter just like chaos coming out of that. I don't know another way to describe that. When you could have that long of talks and then come out and say, yep, we agreed to this. And then the other side immediately says, no, the fuck we didn't. Like, you got to throw your hands up at that point and be like, all right, what the fuck is going on?
On our side, there are people who are upset. A lot of that. When are people not upset, right? We have become very, very negative. The big thing about my positivity, I did not hear anybody talking about it this weekend. I talked about it with my dad. I talked about it with my brother, but I also bobbed around a pool for about 6 hours. And I got the sense that people were talking about everything that had nothing to do with Iran, from reality.
So the MAGA idiots that were surrounding you at your little fucking pool party that you attended didn't want to talk about the disastrous Iran negotiations? You don't say. Because that doesn't really strike me as odd, Greg. Okay? You make it seem like you were, I don't know, flying around the country and nobody that you talked to had heard the Iran negotiations or wanted to talk about it. You're at your little fucking maggot pool party with your little fucking demented idiot fools that follow this guy still. And apparently you guys didn't want to discuss the disaster and how stupid Trump was made to look as far as this whole thing is concerned, and how stupid J.D. Vance currently looks as far as this whole thing is concerned. Clearly didn't want to be brought up at that barbecue that you were frequenting. But again, doesn't really surprise me.
TV to still talking about the Knicks, the World Cup. This thing isn't worrying too many people. And what's the significance of that? I think the American people have a very good sense of when it's time to tune in and when things are under control. And I do believe that we have the sense that things are under control. And thanks in large part to President Trump and his team. Have you ever seen?
What's up, my brother? What's happening, dude? Good to see you in there. Good to see you. Like I said, I'm sure you're not back to 100%. I'm sure you're not back to 100, but it is great to see you back in the chat. Great to be able to communicate once again. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us. Again, let us know if there's any way in which that we could help or be of some assistance to you, my brother. But again, good to see you in there. W's in the chat for Tom. Much appreciated for being here, dude.
A negotiator. There's his top buttons unbuttoned. That's the vice president of the United States sitting at a
hold
computer.
on, because check out this picture. You can't see it. You almost can see it. You see this right here? You see that right there? And again, I might be able to pull up a better picture, but that seems to be if I'm not mistaken, is it a CIC card or a CAC? I think it's a CIC card. Correct me in the chat, please, because I'm sure you guys know a little bit more. But this is apparently a female, right? So he's apparently using somebody else's CIC card, as I believe it's called, to access whatever mainframe, to access whatever database that he's now attempting to access in and around Jared Kushner. And my apologies for not knowing the other gentleman. I believe is that the Pakistani mediator. Correct me again if I'm wrong in the chat about that. But let me see here, because I believe I have this pulled up. I think I emailed the picture to myself where you can more clearly see that picture. So give me a second. I'll take that off the screen so you don't have to stare at those idiots real quick. Let me pull this up. See if I sent it to myself. Click this. Yeah, let me share this tab instead. Might be able to zoom in. I'm not sure how much zoom quality I can do here, but let me see. I'll click in a little bit. Click in a little bit. Right? So you can, let me hop out of the way. I'll hop out of the way as well. But you can just see here the card that he's using, right? I mean, that's a female. That is a brunette. That's a female brunette. You can definitely tell right there. Not his card. Let me know in the chat. Am I getting that wrong? Is it CIC or CAC? CAC? Oh, thank you, Eric. My apologies. Like I said, I knew it was one of the two. Eric McKetton over there on Twitch correcting me. Common access card or a CAC. Much appreciated, my friends over there on Twitch. Make sure you guys are hitting the bits, sharing the bits, doing the bit things. And again, if you have Amazon Prime over there on Twitch, you can utilize that to subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you a dime to do so. But thank you, Eric, for correcting me. I knew it was one of the two. My apologies. My apologies. But you can definitely see here that it's not J.D. Vance. And apparently this is against, OPSEC. This is against protocol. It's a big no-no to be able to use somebody else's CAC card in this manner. Again, Eric, you may be able to substantiate or correct me if I'm wrong on this, but as far as I've been led to believe, as far as I've seen reported, that is a big no-no. That's a big against protocol thing that we're now looking at as far as that is concerned. So something else that people were pointed out, but I figured while that was being talked about and shown on Greg Kelly's screen would point that out as well. But I'll let him go on.
Computer, looks like they're hammering out some text. There's Jared Kushner behind. These guys are very, very much engaged. And I'm not sure Steve Witkoff, but he knows what he's doing when it comes to negotiating peace.
Yeah, I mean, nothing says we know what we're doing like Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff and all they've been able to accomplish thus far, right, Greg? Nothing sells competency. Nothing says competency like Steve fucking Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Jesus Christ. Like, if that's what you fucking envision when you lay your head on the pillow at the end of the night, as far as successful people and like things to be, I don't know, happy about is Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner's negotiation ability is fucking a wild one for sure.
They're negotiating peace between Israel and Hamas and pulled that off and got the hostages.
Let me see. Eric chiming in. Eric says, "Yeah, the card is only to log you in, and only you can use it to only you can use it, so somebody else doesn't have the access to the stuff that you do. It also tells the PC your security level. Makes sense, though, right? I mean, that's kind of what logic would lead you to believe anytime you're dealing with, you know, highly classified information or even sensitive information. Typically, not going to work for a company that's going to allow you to kind of mix and match different security levels, different access cards. Like, you know, people work on different levels and in different segments of the company for a specific reason. And a lot of companies it's a need to know basis, especially if it's intelligence, especially if it's intelligence gathering or anything, again, this sensitive. It's typically a need to know basis. And if you don't need to know that and you don't have access to that information, you're not going to know it and you're not going to get access. You don't just get to say, hey, JD, I'd like to know what you know. So can you throw over your cat card for me, please? That would be fantastic. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. Hey, Linda, can I use your cat card? Because apparently Linda has better access and a higher classification or a higher security level than JD Vance does. I'm not sure why else he'd be using somebody else's card.
Home. Remember the last Iran deal, the lousy one? These two, wow. I never knew they were so tight, John Kerry and Barack Obama. What is up with that? Well, Kerry was
suspecting it's a photograph taken in the middle of an action right now, where the action that you're seeing just a snippet of, right, just one frame of, actually went on to have them either talk to each other, give each other a hug, something like that. I'm assuming took place where it's much more normal than you portray it to be as far as this still shot is concerned, and you're like homophobic fucking gasping in the background, right? So Greg Kelly, just sitting here again, trying to talk down on the JCPOA, trying to talk down on Barack Obama while still being forced to admit that nothing, absolutely nothing that he can come up with as far as this new MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, could fucking hold the jockstrap up of Barack Obama or the JCPOA. They couldn't even be compared to it, right? You just heard JD Vance fucking fighting for his life to keep his head above water to, in some point, hopefully build the foundations or see the blueprints to get the markers and the pencils to do the blueprints for the potential foundation that may go somewhere in here that in some day we may come and build a house on that may some point, maybe, hopefully, we're hoping come to a finalized agreement, right? You know what I mean? It's like, how you can't continue to shit on the JCPOA while not recognizing the reality that we're now facing right now. It's just, you can't do it. You make yourself look like an asshole time and time again. And whether it's the reflecting pool or, again, the disastrous Iran situation that now we're engaged in, you can't. These people just are struggling mightily to come up with the reason, to come up with the justification, to come up with the propaganda, the lies, the obfuscation, to try to make it seem like this is a good thing. Right. So which is why we decided to do the Three Stooges of Newsmax today. But we made it through. We made it through the Three Stooges of Newsmax. I appreciate you guys for joining us. All right, let's take a look at now our next segment, ending the show today. Some Ukraine updates, right? Because Ukraine has continued their push to strangle Crimea. There have been more bridges struck. There have been more areas struck. Again, there have been more launches inside of Russia itself. So I got a few videos here pulled up to kind of get us up to speed and up to date on what's been taking place, at least over the last 24, 48 hours. One of them being from Denis Davidov, another one being here from The Sun. I believe this is one that is just kind of general clips being put together, no commentary on that. So I'll be able to read through that, and we'll just kind of get the footage of what's been taking place there. This says Ukrainian drones and jets hit occupied positions in multi-front offensive. And then the last thing we'll talk about is Preston Stewart here describing and giving us, keeping us up to date on the Russians' push in and around Konstantinivka. So something else that we need to keep up on, as well as the Ukrainian successes, both inside Crimea and obviously their strikes inside of Russia as well. Like I said, we try to report on the good, bad, and the ugly. We're not propaganda here. We're just trying to keep everybody up to speed and up to date on as many aspects of what's taking place as we possibly can, whether, like we said, that's happening on the front, whether that's happening inside of occupied Ukraine, or whether that's happening with strikes inside of Russia. So again, here's Denis Davidov and his update. Ukraine did the impossible in Crimea. Russians are in deep shit. So I'm just kind of curious what updates he's got. Slava Ukraine, Heroyam Slava. I much appreciate all of the barnacles that join me to the end of the show. Little nickname given to people that stick around to the end. We typically go through all of the domestic issues, domestic policy first in the show. Second half of the show or later portion of the show, we typically divulge to we delegate to the Ukraine situation and any updates on that we possibly can. So again, thank you to everybody that sticks around, everybody that supports the people of Ukraine, the Ukrainian military, our fundraisers, related to this war here. You can go over to Help 99. Fantastic mods, putting that link in the chat every so often. So if you got a 5 or a 10, anything to contribute, think about contributing. All right, let's let Denis Davidov take this one away. Appreciate you guys.
Hello, my friends. A very interesting and kaboom situation we have in Crimea. Just yesterday, Ukrainian military intelligence launched a big strike on those bridges which Russia continued to build. I mean, pontoon bridges in parallel with the main Crimean bridges, which were kaboomed already. Plus, kabooms were reported in the Kerch part of peninsula. But
right,
anyways,
we should probably do a little recapping, right? So before I dive into that, let me do a little recapping if I can, utilizing Google Earth, and I'll just show you exactly what we're talking about here as far as where the bridges were struck previously, where the Russians actually were forced to build those pontoon bridges. Let's see if we can just go here. Give me a second as I zoom in on the general vicinity that we're looking at. And I'll get you guys here. I'll bring you guys in right now. How you doing? All right, so here's the Google Earth. So we're going to be taking a look at obviously down here in Crimea. And we're going to go to Chongar, which is down here, right? So this is the area in which the bridges were struck, right? And then the Russians were forced to build a pontoon bridge. I forget if it's in the middle of the bridges or if it's to the right or to the left of these bridges to get their resupply vehicles across, right? So this is one of the areas in which that were attacked. We also talked about if we fly over to this vicinity too, we can go over here to Amiansk, right, which is another area, this bridge that was also attacked. Not only that bridge, but if we fly up this canal, you can also see some of the other bridges that was struck by the Ukrainians as well. So these other bridges that are crossing this little, I don't know what they call it, a little canal, a little jetty. But, they've also taken, here's another one as well. So just kind of showing you exactly where on the map. But this is, again, talking about the Ukrainians going after now, I believe, this pontoon bridge, which the Russians were trying to utilize in the Chongar Strait to get their supplies into Crimea as well. But we've done ample reporting on how difficult this whole situation is for the Ukrainians now that, for the Russians now that the Ukrainians are starting to focus in and around the Kerch Bridge even more. We've now heard that it was reported that 2 Panzer systems in the recent Ukrainian strikes in and around the Kerch Bridge, the one that hit the ferry and the port there, had taken out 2 Panzer systems, air defense systems. So again, like I said, going in there to soften up the air defenses, gauge the reaction times, gauge, what defenses may have been put in place since the last time that this was attacked, just kind of feeling out the area, which goes to show that they have clear intent to make that a viable, justifiable target coming up here in the near future. But again, these were the 2 main areas that we talked about in the north of Crimea. Armyansk here, this is the position, this is the route in which you can travel here, and then the Chongar Strait on the on this side of the northern portion of Crimea, in which the Russians can utilize to get supply in there. Other than that, it's the Kerch Bridge, baby. And that's about it, because the Sea of Azov and its ferry services that have been utilized to get some of the equipment in there have been temporarily stopped because of the Ukrainian drone strikes. And I'm sure that is going to persist. I'm sure the Ukrainians don't want to see those ferries be able to mitigate some of the damages seen by the Ukrainian drone attack. So I'm sure they got that in focus as well. But I just wanted to show you exactly where we're talking about as far as Dennis's video before we get into it. Like I said, with myself, it always helps to look at a map. It always helps for me to see it and visualize where we're talking about, the troop movements, what's likely to come, what a likely target might be. It's a lot easier for me. So, my apologies if you guys don't like the map, and I appreciate thank you to anybody that it does help. But let me see if we can just dive back into Dennis's video so we can talk about the recent Ukrainian strikes on, I believe, like I said, the pontoon bridge that was set up by the Russians.
Let's start from this one. Let's watch this video presented to us by Ukrainian GUR military. So here you see, this is a truck.
So this is the truck going over the pontoon bridge. From what I could see here in this video, it looks like he's just making his way off the pontoon bridge, just going back on land here from crossing over on the pontoon bridge, and I'll let it play.
That is passing the bridge, pontoon bridge, and it was hit by the drone. And you see, it is a green one, Russian military, but there could be different tracks, you see. And this is the KAMAZ, one more KAMAZ, this one is blue, and they're moving again and again. So Russia figured out to put those pontoon bridges, but they slowed down the speed of those vehicles.
It looks by this, it looks to be that they put the pontoon bridge in the middle of the other bridges that were previously attacked, hopefully giving it a little bit more shelter, hopefully giving it a little bit more cover, that pontoon bridge, but apparently not having the, the desired effect, the desired impact that the Russians would like to have it see, because the Russians are just able, the Ukrainians are just able to fly their drones directly in between those bridges at with pinpoint accuracy. So that's not having the effect that they want it to have.
They also create traffic jams, and Ukraine adds more. So just imagine, now they have kaboomed trucks on the pontoon bridge, and they cannot use it any longer. I guess it's the main Chongar bridge, and you see it was damaged. The part of the construction is lying.
Yeah, you can see there, as he's pointing out where his mouse is, the previous damage from the previous Ukrainian strikes there. The looks to be a little bit of concrete kind of hanging from the bottom of the original Chongar Strait Bridge there.
Down. What I'm also surprised is about the quality of those images. So the cameras, they're becoming better, and the signal itself. Such a great picture quality, but sometimes you have some of the artifacts, like the blurry image here below. Well, here, yeah, the signal connection was impaired, but later on, in general, restored. Here is one more Russian truck.
He's right, though, because that's something we've seen progressed with the technology of the drones. Not only the capability of the drones, the warheads of the drones, the distance the drones can fly, the size, again, the ability of the drones in general, but also the cameras on these drones have progressed with it, whether it's, multiple cameras now, some to zoom, some are infrared, other types of cameras are being utilized as well. They're now being, it's more clear to see exactly what you're striking. So again, it's pretty easy to see how this kind of war has progressed technologically, at least, and what we're looking at now from what we were looking at, 3, 4, going on 5 years ago at this point.
It was already kaboomed, you see, from behind. One of the Russian soldier works as the air defense system, but it is useless. And the drone
I'll get out of the way, because he's showing the guy right to my left here, just where I was. You can see what he's calling their air defense systems for this truck is this guy right here on the bottom of your screen right now, bottom right-hand side of your screen. That's the totality of the Russian air defenses, again, for this convoy, apparently.
In general, restored. Here you see one more Russian truck. It was already kaboomed, you see, from behind. One of the Russian soldier works as the air defense system, but it is useless. And the drone just finishes the job with the vehicle. Very interesting. And this is the refueling truck. It was kaboomed. One more army supply truck in the convoy, by the way. And again, lots of the kabooms. One more vehicle. And one more vehicle. KAMAZ and Russian UAZ, a military vehicle too.
So again, that was just
Russians are running.
Some drone footage there of some of the recent strikes in and around Crimea. Obviously, the impacts on that pontoon bridge are going to have impacts and effects on the Russian resupply as well. Here's some other footage coming in from us from the Sun here. This is Ukraine at war, the little segment that they have. This is Ukrainian drones and jets hit occupied positions in multi-front offensive. And I just want to see if there's anything else that we get into into as far as strikes, successful strikes from the Ukrainians before we get into Preston Stewart's video detailing the Russians' advance or attempted advance into Konstantinivka. So let's see what we can get into as far as this is concerned. Well, that's a pretty substantial strike right there. That's no little drone strike. Look at that. I wonder what bridge that's at. I'm curious what bridge that is at. I wonder if we can find exactly where that strike is. I'll let that play. I'll see if I can find that in the background. This says, this is the moment a Ukrainian airstrike blitzes a key Russian bridge. Which one? Wait for it. Boom! It's a big strike. I'll turn down the music here so you guys can hear me talking in the background, but a pretty substantial strike here. It says footage showed extensive damage to the bridge over the Karacherek River in occupied Velasilivka, Zaporizhia region. And it goes on here. I guess I'll turn it up just some of the music. So look at that. I mean, pretty substantial strike as far as that's concerned. That's no little drone doing that. I can tell you that much. This is Ukrainian drones roamed behind Russian lines, striking vehicles, including a fuel tanker, left burning out of control in Donetsk as well. So that's showing you the drone operators from Ukraine's Spartan system there, striking the Donetsk-Mariupol highway. I'm just looking in the background real quick as that's playing for, let me see here. I'll pause that real quick. I'm going to see if Kate from Kharkiv, I think she had a report on that bridge strike and maybe a more direct or a specific location or locale for that as well. Just want to see if I can find that. Let me see here. This was reported. Let me throw this on your screen. Reported as deployment in the video. Nuvich translates as flattener 11er, guided aerial bombs by our Air Force. Let me see if she's got anything else on this. I think she had something reported, if I'm not mistaken, about this. Was this it here? Power plant in occupied Kerch was hit again. So that's another strike. This was the chalk plant in the town of Alexeyevka, Belgorod region of Russia has been hit. That was 6 hours ago. Wonder if we can get that specific. This was the moment a missile strike on the Spurka plant in Voronezh, Russia. She says, this is art. Check this strike out. Wow, it looked like 3 different missiles hitting that one site. Let me see if this is the one that we were talking about. No, this is talking about Russian strikes. We'll go over those in just a second. I think this is it right here. I think this is it. The railway bridge over the North Crimean Canal in Crimea has been destroyed. Ukrainian forces successfully destroyed a railway bridge over the North Crimean Canal. The bridge was located near the village of Rozdolny in occupied Crimea. The bridge formed part of the transport corridor used to move cargo resources and military equipment in 2 key directions from Russian territory through Crimea to resupply forces on the southern front and within the peninsula itself to sustain Crimea's military infrastructure. So we're looking for Rozdolny. So let's see if we can go here. As we typically do, we'll see if we can find a Rozdolny. Looks like this is Rozdolny right here. Is this where we're talking about? So she said it was just outside of Rozdolny. But I don't see where there would be a canal here. Where would the canal be for Rozdolny? Let's see here. Canal. She said it was a... Oh, there it is right there. That looks like what we were talking about right there. So let me see if I can compare that. Let me see if I can compare that to the video that we were just looking at. Right? Where was the video we were just looking at? Right. Was it Kate from Kharkiv? Let me see. Put this back on here. Was it this one we were just looking at? Fanguladu. I believe we just saw, or was it this other one? I think it was this video that we were talking about. I think it was Dennis's video. Or was it this video? Hold on, let me go back. Was it this? No, it's right here. So take a look at this. Let me put this on the screen, right? See this circle here? See this little square? Looks like a roundabout, right? You can just see the roads coming in and coming out of it. You can see this little, what looks to be, I don't know, a little promenade or something in the center there where my mouse is. So take a look at that. And then if I go over to Google Earth, right, doesn't that look like this to a certain degree? Or am I mistaken? Here, let me see if I can get the correct, tilt here. We'll get the correct tilt. We'll get the correct heading. So doesn't it look like something like this angle right here? Or am I losing it? Right? So we got this. And then we got this. Could be different, though. I don't think it is the same. I don't think it is the same now that I look at it. Because I don't see those buildings in the background. Right? Or do I see those buildings in the background? Good Lord, it's hard to tell. That might actually be it, to tell you the truth. Now it's hard for me to tell. So you can see these buildings in the background. You got this structure here. You got this set of buildings here. Now if we go over to Google Earth, we got this set of buildings here. It's kind of hard to tell, obviously, because of the vantage point that we're at. And then you got this building in the background. So not 100% sure, but looks to be somewhere remotely, looking like the position. It says Rozdolny there, but I believe there's actually another Rozdolny, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So if we zoom out of here, I believe there's another one up in this general vicinity as well, if I'm not mistaken. Look for another Rozdolny. I thought it was up in this area. Maybe you have to go in a little closer. Abdiansk. I could be wrong, but I thought there was two of them here. Oh, yeah, here it is right here. Here's another one. Here's another Rozdolny. So let's see if this one is more along the lines of what we're looking for. It says right outside Rozdolny. Where would that be? Where would that be? See anything resembling a canal or anything that they would have to cross. You know what I mean? But anyway, like I said, I like to try to find these specific places on the map. They said it was just outside, and I'm trying to find anything that resembles that little square or a canal or anything, because it's always tough. There's always two different fucking Rozdolnys. There's always two different towns and cities in Ukraine that are named the same goddamn thing. That other one being down here in Crimea. So, it's tough to tell exactly where it is, but we'll see if we can get some more information from some of these updates here real quick before we dive into Preston Stewart's video. Let's get up into this one. So this was, the building was heavily damaged, set ablaze, and partially collapsed after a missile strike. And this was, the footage shows the moment 3 high-precision cruise missiles, which we just saw on Kate from Kharkiv's Twitter post, struck the VZPPS semiconductor plant in Voronezh. Obviously, semiconductors, highly useful and go to help the war effort directly. So something that is obviously a justifiable military target as far as that is concerned. Let's see if there's anything else as far as the Sun can tell us as far as these strikes have to tell. Let's see. Ukraine's laser group. Oh, I missed that one. My apologies. Let's go back. Ukraine's laser group aerial reconnaissance unit successfully destroyed 18 Russian tanks during a single special operation. That's pretty substantial. 18 different Russian tanks in one operation is fucking crazy. But all right, because I'm directly running out of time, because of my map usage here. Let's see if we can dive onto this Preston Stewart video, because like I said, a little bit to get into, a little bit of information to recognize about the the Russian push into and surrounding Konstantinivka. And I think, like I said, Preston just gives us a little bit of an update. It says, attacking from all sides, Russia ramps up pressure on Konstantinivka. So let's see what other updates we can get to. Like I said, bringing you the successful strikes, the successful information from the Ukrainian side, but also the not so good different portions of what's taking place on the front to keep everybody up to speed and on the same page, right? That way you're not being propagandized, you're not being lied to, none of those things. So what do you say we dive into this and I'll get you guys out of here. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me.
So it seems like everything from Moscow to Crimea is getting hit by Ukrainian drones. Over time, that is going to impose a real challenge for the Russian army at the front, but for now, they continue to push. And one area in the east is coming under more and more pressure every single day. In fact, according to the analysts at Deep State Map, they say, quote, the situation around Konstantinivka is unfolding in the worst case scenario, as the enemy has emerged from all sides on the outskirts of the city and is exerting active pressure and infiltrating into the settlement. So today we're going to be taking a look at a number of Russian and Ukrainian sources to try to better understand what exactly is playing out in this specific sector of the front. Starting to look at a map here. This is deep state map. We've got eastern Ukraine that we're going to be focused on today. The Donetsk region,
I'll get out of the way.
right here, kind of in the middle of the map. This is a fortress belt. Is probably the best way to describe this. Russia has spent a crazy amount.
I don't know if you can see my mouse at the same time, but Konstantinivka down here at the southern, I don't know if you want to call it the southern tip or the southern portion of what they're calling this fortress belt. We've gone over this before. We can also talk about the successful pushes that the Ukrainian military has done where his mouse is up here in Lyman, but down here in the south, Konstantinivka, and you can see the considerable dangers that are posed upon Konstantinivka with the Russians being able to almost surround it on three sides at this point. And he'll go on to further detail the Russian troop movement, but just to kind of show you exactly what we're talking about here.
Power equipment, and now years to try to take. So we've got Liman down to Slovyansk, Kramatorsk, Drushivka, and then Konstantinivka. And it doesn't take a master strategist to look at this area and say that's a problem for the Ukrainian armed forces. We've seen this situation play out before, where Russia envelops around a number of different sides, cuts off the logistics so Ukraine can no longer get anything in or out, and slowly over time capture the city. That generally seems like what we're seeing play out here. Now, according to Russian media Rybar, they say, quote, in the Konstantinivka direction, Russian forces continue to advance successfully through urban areas. Footage that appeared online showing Russian flags being raised in various districts of the city confirms further advances by assault units and the expansion of Russian armed forces control zones.
And that's about all it shows. I mean, you guys are up to speed and up to date with the Russians' propaganda usage of their little flag fucking battalions that they send out, the 2 or 3 man groups to infiltrate deep behind the lines to make it seem like the entirety of the Russian military has pushed that far or taken over that portion of the city or village that they're now trying to raise their flag in. But that's not what's going on here, right? Like, they're not pushed that far into the city, and they're again trying to utilize their propaganda to make it seem like they're having more successes. But the only thing that I see, as far as, not the only thing, but the thing that I see as a saving grace as far as this is concerned, is the amount of cities and towns that are coming up behind Konstantinivka. Let me see if we can go up to, here's Konstantinivka here. But if you look at what's beyond Konstantinivka, is just, it looks like city or town and city after town and city. You know what I mean? So it's not like, if you look at the wider, more general, fortress belt that we've been talking about, after that, it's a lot of open expanse, right? There's not a lot of huge cities, big towns for the Ukrainians to kind of post up at or use as defensives, which is why it's very, important and why everybody's putting so much value and import on this fortress belt that's already set up here. But if you take a closer look, looks like you're going from, Konstantinivka, right? You're going into Alexeyevo, Druskivka, and then from there, you're going into Drushivka itself. And then it looks like it just continues on this, on this course, whether it's Krasnotorka, Malatonarivka, right? So it looks like you got settlement after settlement. And then you got, here you can go into Krematorsk, right? So it looks like, they'll have the ability, and I'm sure they've already recognized this, to kind of fall back if it does get to the point where it looks inevitable that Konstantinivka may fall, or even a substantial portion of Konstantinivka may fall. They clearly have options, right? They have places to be able to use as resources, to be able to use as establishments, defensive structures, whatever it may be. Not something that you want to see have happen, is to continuously be pushed back. But I'm saying, if the situation does come to that, that's kind of a bright spot, as it's just not just like farmland, consistent farmland after that, where they'd have to, kind of build their own defenses, manufacture their own defensive structures and stuff like that. It looks like they will have, settlements to kind of push back into, to set up, further defenses, to make the Russians go through the meat grinder again and again and again and again, and expend as much ammunition and manpower as humanly possible before, to be able to gain the territory that they're gaining. So that seemed to be one thing that I saw as far as Konstantinivka has going for it, is like I said, the string of settlements that is behind Konstantinivka, which the Ukrainians will undoubtedly be able to utilize if, in fact, it does get to that point. So just wanted to throw that on your screen and make that point clear. It's back to Preston Stewart.
which brings us to the concept of flag plantings in this war, because we're seeing it here in Konstantinivka, and there's been a lot of debate about how accurate those are. Now, this concept is something that's been used by both sides, where you have a soldier or a small group of soldiers wave a flag from their location, show it to a friendly drone to verify, hey, we actually are in the location we said we are, or we've actually captured the location we said we've captured. This has been taken out of context and exaggerated a couple times throughout the conflict.
This is a perfect indication, a perfect example of this, what you're seeing on your screen right now, because this is what they do, right? They pick a geographical location. They have a 2 or 3 man group go into this location, try to push through. They've probably expended or utilized or wasted, is more like it, probably 5, 10, 15 Russians before they actually got this successful group to get into this position. But inevitably, it's followed by one of their drones or multiple drones. You can now see the flag being held. And what the drone does is they'll do a big fucking 360 to get the entirety of the area so they can geolocate it. That way they can say, yep, we were certainly in that area. But what they're trying to do is to make it seem like they have substantial forces in that area, which they absolutely don't. They want to make it seem like they have captured and now control that certain piece of land, which they absolutely don't. And more times than not, this team, the 2-man team going in there with the flag, ends up losing their life. The Ukrainians end up taking that flag. And again, the battle just continues from there.
Accurate those are. Now, this concept is something that's been used by both sides.
Watch how the drain, they pan out, right? So you can get the, an accurate representation of what you're seeing. And then it does this 360 panoramic view so that they can accurately locate where they are.
A soldier or a small group of soldiers wave a flag from their location, show it to a friendly drone to verify, hey, we actually are in the location we said we are, or we've actually captured the location we said we've captured. This has been taken out of context and exaggerated a couple times throughout the conflict. The lines are porous, and we know that. It's not that crazy for a soldier to make it through enemy lines to a depth of 5, sometimes 10 kilometers. They often don't last very long in that scenario, but sometimes enough to wave a flag, and that gets spread as propaganda. Look, we did it. In some cases, we have seen Russia use those flag planting operations to change their maps of control and say, look, there's a Russian soldier at point X. We now control everything from the known line of contact to him. And of course, that's not true. The soldiers at the front know that's not true. And increasingly, we're getting information that the Russian chain of command also knows that's not true. In fact, Russian mill blogger Romanov, talking about this recently, said that the situation was so bad that they actually sent inspectors from the Russian Ministry of Defense to the Konstantinivka direction.
Wow, that's how bad the lies are. It says returning to cover-ups from above, checks on the compliance of LBS are periodically carried out. In some places, like Kupian sector, this is purely formal. In some places, specifically in Konstantinivskotsky sector, the inspectors actually went to the LBS soldiers from the sector express to their respective, express their respect to those two colonels. The result was the detection of a discrepancy between the actual declared LBS up to about a depth of 17 kilometers. So basically a discrepancy of where the Russian military said that they had advanced to where they actually stood was about 17 kilometers. So it's a big discrepancy between the actual territory you hold and the territory that you say you hold.
To try to measure the mismatch between what was being reported and the actual situation on the ground. And they found a difference of 17 kilometers, as in 17 kilometers that Russia had said they had taken and reported up the chain of command, that on the ground was at the very least contested, if not still in Ukrainian control. Romanov said that the way they went about trying to resolve this was the unit immediately sent 40 people, including UAV operators, to storm the covered position, adding that all 40 were killed in 2 hours. Romanov said that in many commands,
they sent 40 people, including UAV operators, to storm the covered up sector. All 40 of those fucking people that they sent were killed within 2 hours. Just to go to show you what kind of a meat grinder we're still talking about, and what type of situation the Russians are still dealing with. And again, it's not like the first soldier or first 2 soldiers they send with that flag to get into that specific area of Ukrainian held territory are the first people to try it or make it. Like they've probably expended, again, tens, dozens and dozens of troops to try to get that, to get to that possibility, to get to that instance, to be able to hold that flag up. And again, even then, those soldiers typically don't make it too much longer. And again, you've seen ample videos of the Ukrainians holding up the exact flag that those Russians were holding because they didn't make it much longer after taking that picture with the drone.
Posts throughout Russia, there are 2 maps. one with the actual front line for planning operations, and another one for what they send up the chain of command to boast about their successes.
And I'm just going to skip ahead a couple minutes here and see if there's any more he says about Konstantinivka, and then I'll get you guys out of here. I appreciate you.
10 kilometers, well, I mean, that's within cannon artillery range, although Russia and Ukraine are not moving cannons or really any artillery that close to the front. This entire area moving into the city is and has for a while been under direct fire control from Russian drones. So what we were seeing is a heavy increase in unmanned ground vehicle operations using UGVs to bring supplies in, and at times using Vampire type helicopter drones to drop supplies to some of the forwardmost units. Alexander Koss talked to one of the Russian drone operators, call sign Shpak, who said, quote, "We're targeting all objectives, disrupting the enemy's logistics, rotations, supplies, and ammunition deliveries to make it as uncomfortable as possible for the enemy to hold their defenses. We assault support operations. We plan the assault routes in advance, and when the guys move forward, we stay nearby and cover them. We hit detected fire points and fortifications. The ultimate goal is to prevent the Ukrainians from even sticking their heads out of their shelters." And that's,
so again, that's a little bit of what's going on in and around Konstantinivka. But again, that doesn't take away from any of the recent successes in and around Moscow. It doesn't take away from any of the successes of the kinetic drone strikes that the Ukrainians have been able to perpetrate inside of Russia in general, St. Pete, Moscow, anywhere, you name it, on the oil ports, oil facilities, all of those things. It obviously doesn't go to change the effectiveness of the Ukrainian strikes on the Mariupol to Melitopol into Crimea highway. It doesn't go to stop their strikes on the pontoon bridges or the bridges that the Russians are trying to utilize as far as the rail bridge. It doesn't go to stop their attacks in and around Kerch or on the upcoming strikes that we're likely to see on the Kerch bridge. So again, we're talking about a small piece of what is a very big puzzle, but I just want to make sure that we're bringing you consistent coverage of what's taking place in real time and not lying to you or making it seem like one side's having a better time or an easier time than the other than they're actually having on the front. So again, we try to keep it as real as humanly possible here. I know I'm a little bit over time, but I appreciate you guys sticking with me. What do you say we get into thanking some people? Anybody that utilized this little Venmo QR code up here. Again, all you got to do is find a couple quarters in the couch cushions, send them in via Venmo. All we ask for is a buck or two. Anything above and beyond that is 100% up to you guys. If you think we're worthy, you think we're deserving of more than a buck or two, I very much appreciate that, and thank you so much. But again, $1 or $2 from everybody in the chat on all of these live streams would go a long way in making certain that we're going to be here for a long time. So thank you guys to anybody that utilizes the Venmo or the Super Chats or YouTube memberships or heading over to patreon.com/Boston Bryant to sign up at any one of the great levels we have there. So thank you. As always, what do you say we get into thanking some people on the Venmo side of things in case there was anybody nice enough to send over one? Let's go. Peter today. Let's go. Peter L. Much appreciated, my friend, for your Venmo. I said, thanks, Brian, for keeping us informed. Well, thank you, Peter, for sitting here and watching and making it so that I'm not just talking to myself. I very much appreciate that. Seeing you guys in the chat time and time again and contributing to the show makes it worthwhile and definitely gives me a little pep in my step to continue doing this stuff. And thank you so much to Brian H., as always, for the $5 on Venmo. Can't make the whole show. Got errands to do, but Slava Ukraine, and let's go. Much appreciated, Brian. Hope you got all of those errands done. And like I said, no apologies necessary for you guys having to, take care of your daily lives, your personal lives. That's what you guys got to do. And then over the last couple of days, I just want to thank Joe H. Very much appreciate your $20 contribution from the other day, my friend. He also says, thank you for keeping us informed. And I say thank you for sitting here and watching and listening and making it so that this channel, again, isn't just me talking into the realm, into a dark space. You know what I mean? So thank you so much to Joe. Thank you so much to Teague for the $20 as well. What Boston Brian needs to use it for, well, thank you so much, Teague. I appreciate that. Typically goes right in the swear jar and helps. And then, like I said, over the last couple of days, Tom and Victoria, Roger and Karen, Brian H. again, very much appreciated. My friend Geneva H. Always appreciate you. Nancy, thank you so much. And then Sarah G. Much appreciated for your kind contributions on Venmo. Again, this little thing up here, this little doohickey up in the corner, all you got to do is raise your camera up to that, and it should, if everything works correctly, take you right to the Venmo. It's typically the easiest, quickest way to get a donation to the channel. Again, YouTube doesn't get to take a cut of it. It doesn't take fucking 9.5 months to get to you like YouTube typically does. But, you know, like I said, any way in which you can contribute is very much appreciated. I show my gratitude to everybody, no matter what you do to help this channel. So very much appreciated. We say we dive over here to YouTube, start thanking you guys. I think today was started off by Slacks. Bobby Slack started off today with his 2-year milestone. Let's go, brother. Right back at you. All the love in the world, Bobby Slacks. Thank you so much for the 2 years of loyalty, but also the $10 contribution. It's my absolute honor, my brother. Well, same here. This community has, again, time and time again, blown me away. The expectations I had for what we could build here have been extremely exceeded by multitudes, by multiple levels. So thank you, Slacks. Thank you, Roxy, as well, for becoming a new YouTube member. Salute to you, Roxy. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to not only be here, but to contribute and be a member of the channel. Really means a lot. Thank you, Frank, as well. Shout out to you. Frank gifted a membership. That means another fantastic member of the chat getting to get a Boston Brian membership, because Frank's an amazing human being, and I thank him a lot. So thank you so much, Frank. Thank you, Kathy. Much appreciated for the 25 months. Listen to you guys go. Let's fucking go. Hi, Boston Brian. Glad to catch you live. I work overnight. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you at least got a little rest, right? Hope you're not doing an all-nighter at this point. You know, make sure you get some, recovery time in there for yourself, Kathy. But I really do appreciate you, not only for being here after a long night, but also for being here as a member for 25 months. Really, really means a lot. Again, the backbone of the community is typically the members here on YouTube, the Patreon community, and then obviously the people that consistently show up here for membership milestones, super chats, super stickers, those type of things. So definitely the backbone of the community. So thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Kathy, again, not only for the memberships, but also for being here and contributing $10 to the chat. Let's go. I bet no writers could think this shit up for a movie. It is that ridiculous. I mean, we did show, what was it, last week or the week before, a clip of the movie Idiocracy, right, from about 21 years ago at this point, and how ridiculously similar their kind of characterization of what we would be going through or could be going through if it get to that point, in like the WWE style fucking entrances. And it's like, it's almost too spot on. You know, it's like one of the Simpsons episodes that seems to predict the future almost. But thank you so much, Kathy, for not only the 10, but also being here as a member for 25 months. And just being in the chat in general. We really do appreciate you and hope you have a wonderful day. Hope you get some rest for the rest of the day. Thank you so much to Flipper, being a member for 16 months. Let's fucking go. I heard prime suspect Wolverine is in custody, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? And I think if I could show this clip, let me show this clip, because this will probably just round out the coverage for today. Trump knife. And this will probably bring up his recent quote, but hopefully this will bring up the second. Yeah, this is it, what I was looking for right here, right off the bat. Right off the bat. Thank you, Flipper, for reminding me of this. Let me throw this back on the screen for you guys, not that, but this. This is Trump, May 4th, 2026. And I'm paraphrasing that it would be impossible for anybody to cut it. Even if you did have a knife, it would be impossible to cut. Couldn't do it. Cut now to June 22nd, 2026. And now it apparently can be done with a box cutter in broad daylight, or apparently in the middle of the night, as Donald Trump stated here. Did we read his entire post? I forget if we read his entire post now. But here's, again, the comparison between May 4th, 2026 and June 22nd, 2026 from Donald Trump.
This will last for at least 50 years, and you'll never have a leak. It's very strong. You couldn't, if you had a knife, I don't want to give anybody ideas. If you had a knife, you can't even cut it. So strong, so powerful. It's like powerful rubber.
Powerful rubber. It's like granite caves, ladies and gentlemen. You know those powerful granite caves that everybody talks about? You've never seen anything like it. You've never seen caves on Earth like it. You've never seen more powerful caves, the most powerful caves, and nobody knows more about granite caves and how powerful they are than Donald Trump. Well, same thing here. That rubber, apparently the strongest, and you couldn't even get a knife through it, apparently, what Donald Trump was saying. May 4th, not that the guy's ever used fucking rubber in his life here, but apparently he thought at that time, or was told at that time, no knife could cut through it. Apparently now a box cutter can do it, right? A box cutter, you guys know a box cutter, to open the boxes, not so much to cut like thick, substantial rubber as Donald Trump would have it here.
Contractors who did the initial work with the reflecting pool, are they to blame for the current condition, or is it
No,
the
no,
vandals?
we had vandalism. No, vandals. You know, we have I think 290, 300-foot slit right through it. Probably a box cutter or a knife of some kind.
Yeah, right.
National Guard
Couldn't do it. No knife before could do it, but all of a sudden now it's a potential. It's a potential option.
This will last for at least 50 years, and you'll never have a leak. It's very strong. You couldn't, if you had a knife, I don't want to give anybody ideas. If you had a knife, you can't even cut it. So strong, so powerful.
He couldn't do it. Couldn't do it May 4th. All of a sudden, June 22nd. Not only is it possible to do with a knife, but all of a sudden, a box cutter is all you need, right? All of a sudden, apparently, you could blow a big fart into the reflecting pool there, and it would just blow the bottom off. That's all it really required. But there was also that post that he had. Let me see. I'll put this in because there was the post that he had where he said it was basically in the middle of the night. So he said in that press conference that he had the evidence. You'd have to wait till court, right? You couldn't see it now. Couldn't possibly show it to you now. You'll have to wait till court. But let me see now, because he said in one of his posts that it must have been done in the dead of night, which goes to show me that he absolutely has no evidence to suggest anything. Let me see if I can pull this up, his little statement that he had. I'm sure it shouldn't be too far down here. Let's see. Reflecting pool. Should I do post? Maybe that'll bring it up quicker. If you had a knife, let me see. I'll do latest. Post shows out Grok. Let me see if there was this little fucking... Yeah, here it is right here. So he says 6 people have been arrested and 7 people have been cited for the damage they did to our country's now beautiful reflecting pool. The 350-foot gash made by a very sharp knife or razors. Now, apparently, didn't even need to be a box cutter, right? You could go in there with your Bic Razor 5, apparently. You could go in there with your shower razor and apparently scrape up the bottom of this fucking reflecting pool. That's all it took. It was purposefully and criminally done. And somebody had to work very hard, probably in the dark of night, he says. So that goes to show me, if he's saying that it was probably in the dark of night, that he doesn't have that photographic or video evidence that he suggested that he had. Otherwise, he'd be able to detail if, in fact, it was in the dead of night, or if it was in broad daylight, or he'd probably send it to Barack Ravid, or he'd definitely send it to Fox News. But him here stipulating that it was probably done in the dark of night should go to show you that he has absolutely no evidence to suggest that this is real, that this was done, that this was sabotage, and not just, again, an act of incompetency from Donald Trump and the people that he hired to do this job in the first place. Again, that's kind of what did it for me there, where he says it was probably done in the dark of night to create such a condition. Likewise, the small area at the bottom of the pool was cut and powerfully lifted off the surface, leaving very jagged, uneven edges. The large areas of grass are being replaced. In any event, even prior to fixing those areas, the reflecting pool is as beautiful as it can be. We will drain some of the water either immediately before or after the 4th of July to do the permanent repair. So the $15 million repair wasn't permanent. Now they're going to do the permanent one. That was just kind of like a test phase. That was just to see how much they could possibly fuck it up, apparently. Now they're going to drain the water out a second time and apparently do it right. He's probably going to hire the same company, knowing Donald Trump. But yeah, I just wanted to show that. You guys brought that again to my attention. I appreciate Flipper for reminding me of that. But that was the specific post which details that he has absolutely no evidence, direct evidence, video, photographic evidence, or any other evidence to suggest that Wolverine or a fucking postmaster general or somebody working for UPS went into the fucking reflecting pool with a box cutter. Okay, none of those things. So I appreciate you, Flipper, for bringing that to my attention. Thank you, Greg, as well. W. Greg's in the chat. I'm in for Team Algae shirt. Get on it. Should I make one? Right? Should that go on the Blunt Politics site? Team Algae. We'll see if we can get a design going. Greg, good idea, Greg. Not a bad idea. I appreciate that. There he is. There's my main man. What's up, Tom? Remember, for 17 months, we had a black president. Do the Republicans, I'm assumed to remember that. I'm going to say, do the Republicans remember that? But I appreciate you, Tom, for being here. I hope you're as well as humanly possible. Again, let us know here in the chat if there's anything that can be done. But like I said, just good to see you in the chat nonetheless. So W's in the chat for Tom here. Much appreciated for not only your contribution, 17 months of loyalty, but also pointing out the obvious and blatant racism coming from the Republican side and the president of the United States based upon anything that Barack Obama's name is attached to. He's got clear animosity against that, wants to tear it up, shit on it, do anything he possibly can to degrade avoid anything that Obama's name is attached to. So you're 100% right there, Tom. Much appreciated for being here. Thank you, JD, for the profanity bonus. As always, my friend, always good to see you here. Thank you so much for your continued support of this channel. Another $5 contribution going right in the swear jar. So JD, big salute to you. Thank you. Hope you have a wonderful day. Steven, how are you, my friend? Today is my 75th birthday. Sure goes fast. Happy birthday, my friend. Let's go. Happy birthdays in the chat to Steven. W's in the chat for Steven. Also a member for 19 months. I mean, come on. What better way to celebrate your birthday than the loyalty to the cause, right? Being a member of the opposition, being a proud member of the resistance. And we appreciate you for doing so, Stephen. And I hope you have a wonderful, amazing, perfect, relaxing birthday as much as you possibly can. So thank you, Stephen, for spending a little bit of time here with us on your big day. Very much appreciated. Thank you, Abby, following up behind Steven. Take care of yourself. Easier said than done, but do. Thank you so much for the 100 Swedish krona. And I do believe that calculates to about $10 USD, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you so much to Abby for your continued contributions to this channel. Very much appreciate everybody that's listening overseas as well. I know we have a bunch of overseas listeners, if not in the live chat, that watch later on as this live gets posted. So a big salute to all of my foreign listeners. Very much appreciate you and your support for everything here, obviously domestic-wise in this country, and obviously all of the foreign policy that directly affects you guys, whether it be in Europe or Asia, wherever you guys may be watching. So thank you, Abby. Very much appreciate it. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Followed up by Colleen here. Thank you so much to Colleen for your $10 contribution. Now Russia is literally grabbing males off the street and forcing them to sign contracts, dead within weeks. And you knew that was something that was, not far away. When they emptied the prisons, when you got North Korea soldiers, when you got African soldiers, like at some point they were going to be desperate enough that we were going to see more and more of these videos. This has been happening throughout the war. So this is nothing, on its face really new, but I'm sure the levels at which that it's beginning to happen is a change. So Colleen, absolutely pointed to bring up, and I appreciate you for bringing that to our attention, and also the $10 contribution as always, Colleen. Thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you. Kathy is back at it. Let's go. 5 gifted Boston Brian memberships to 5 fantastic people in the chat today, being able to walk away with another membership for a month. You too can sign up for a YouTube membership just underneath me somewhere. I think there's a button in this general vicinity right around that right there somewhere that you could push. You can not only sign up for a membership yourself, but you can also, like Kathy here and others in this fantastic chat have done, to gift other people memberships so they can utilize those for a month. And I would just ask, if you do get gifted a membership, if you think about re-upping on that membership when it does expire, if you find yourself liking the perks or liking the community or liking the, the opinions or, what we espouse here, think about re-upping on that membership. It does a lot to help this community. It really, really does. So thank you, Kathy, as well. And then thank you, Abby, rounding it out today for another gifted Boston Brian membership. Very much appreciated. I always love seeing these gifted memberships because it's the chat gifting to the chat. It is different fantastic people in the chat giving to other fantastic people in the chat. So I really do appreciate this side of things. Abby, Kathy, Colleen, Steven, thank you so much. Very much appreciate you. JD, Tom, Alta Boy, much appreciated. Hope you're well, my friend. Greg, Flipper, thank you so much to Frank, Roxy, Slacks, all of you guys that take the second out and either utilize the Venmo here or the Super Chat. Again, we are an independent creator. We are an independent account, an independent channel here. We gave up a lucrative plumbing career to be able to talk about these issues, to be able to speak about these things, to be able to create some change in the society that I saw was going very, very wrong, very badly. And it didn't really matter if you did everything right in your life. It was going to come back to bite you, and had already come back to bite you, where this government was, again, ripping you off, stepping on your rights, making it so these CEOs and corporations have more rights and ability to, again, put you into the fucking poorhouse, to make you homeless, to make it so that you're working more and more hours, to put less and less in the bank every single week. So again, I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to support channels just like this. And I do understand how thin you guys are spread with all of the different creators trying to ask for your help and support. So I appreciate you being here with this channel at Blunt Politics as a part of this community, helping our community grow. And again, a big shout out, big sign of love, big sign of respect to you guys. And I will see you tomorrow for the doubleheader. We got 2 shows tomorrow, every Wednesday, 2 podcasts. The early show being a 1-hour podcast, late show at 8:30 tomorrow night being a 2-hour edition. So check us out tomorrow at 1 p.m. here on the East Coast, which is 10 a.m. on the West Coast. And then tomorrow night, 8:30 on the East Coast, 5:30 on the West Coast. And if you live somewhere in between, well, figure it out for yourselves. I'm not going to do the math for you, for Christ's sakes. All right, well, stay loud. In the meantime, stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive. Get the hell out of your seat and into the streets, right? We are definitely not pissed off enough in this country based off of what we're seeing now and all of the dangers that we now face. So my name is Brian. This is the Blunt Politics Podcast. I appreciate you for joining us. I appreciate you for being here, taking the time out of your day. Happy birthday to all those who are celebrating, and thank you so much. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you head over to bostonbrian.com. That has all of the different links for all of our social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, Substack, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, Twitter, the whole 9 yards. You can get all of the different links over there. Also, the link to the Blunt Politics merch shop is on bostonbrian.com as well. Sign up at patreon.com and you actually get a link to a discount for the merch shop as well. And yeah, thank you guys for all of the help, support, love, respect. And I'll see you tomorrow for the doubleheader. Thank you, mods. Much appreciated. See you guys tomorrow. See if one of these buttons can get me out of here without screwing it up as usual. All right, I'm out of here. Thank you, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing. How to officially name the undisputed. When did this come out? We are a nation that just recently heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
God bless the United States.
The big, fat, sloppy United States.